Yo, this is Set with Set Media, man. I'm here to talk to you about our partner, Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the United States with over 1 million users. It's available in all 50 states. They are a real money market. People trading on what they think will happen. You can build a position and trade in and out of almost any prediction you think. Kalshi facilitates trade between people kind of like the stock market. There's no limiting your trades just because you're winning. Kalshi will pay you interest on your position. So if you make a long-term trade, you can earn a return even before the market is resolved. If you want to try out Kalshi, go ahead and give them a try, guys, at my link, kalshi.com/setmedia. Get $20 when you trade 20, so it's 20 for 20, guys. Once again, that's kalshi.com/setmedia. Go ahead and use my code setmedia to get $20 when you trade 20. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Kalshi, because like I said, it is a trading market where you can put in your prediction and you can go ahead and earn interest on that. You can make money off the knowledge that you know, and if you put $20 in, you get $20 back. So all right, guys, make sure to go check out my guy at Kalshi, because you can get in on good trades like who will Trump nominate as Fed chair, will Ali Khamenei be outed as the supreme leader, and will the US confirm that aliens exist before 2027. So if you want to get in on this action, once again, go ahead and go to my partners at Kalshi. Go ahead and use the link, or you can hit the QR code above and use Set Media to go ahead and get $20 when you trade 20. This is Set from Set Media, and shout out to Kalshi. And all right, guys, we are live. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, I'm tuning in for a quick news update. So I'm probably here about a couple hours, but while I'm here, make sure you guys are double tapping that screen and liking the video. Let's get right into it with a Fox News update. Then we're going to work our way over to the left and let's see what they're talking about as well. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Together for a historic rescue mission, saving a second airman after his jet was shot down over Iran.
The crew member surviving more than 30 hours behind enemy lines, climbing to over 7,000 feet to hide in a mountain crevice. That is where he activated an emergency beacon armed with only a pistol to defend himself.
President Trump calling it one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history. The CIA playing a major role in rescue efforts, using a deception campaign to lure away regime members who were hunting him down.
And now we know that while the crew member was being rescued, the U.S. unleashed an arsenal to protect the extraction point, including drones and B-1 bombers.
You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Monday morning. I'm Carly Shimkin.
And I'm Todd Pyro First. Trey Yinks joins us live from the Middle East with more on this daring mission. Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. We start with breaking news. The head of the IRGC intelligence operation, Major General Majid Kadimi, has been killed. According to a senior Israeli official, a joint U.S. and Israeli strike overnight took out the man who was considered effectively the number 2 within the IRGC. He's one of the few senior commanders, I'm told, who managed to survive multiple waves of Israeli and American targeting over the past year. He oversaw intelligence operations that directly targeted U.S. forces and allies across the region. This comes as we are continuing to track developments and the possibility of a ceasefire deal between the United States and Iran. Yesterday, I spoke with President Trump, and he said if a deal does not happen this week, quote, you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country. If they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking.
Yeah, and this is like a very controversial statement that, well, President Trump made, because like I said, this would basically be war crimes, because what constitute a war crime is this effect on the civilian population. So if he's just out here saying he's going to be blowing up bridges and power plants is going to affect the civilian population, he's pretty much saying, look, I want us to commit war crimes to get this over with and to make you guys, well, pretty much bring you guys to your knees. And Iran is pretty much saying, well, if you do that, then we're just going to start attacking power plants and energy infrastructure throughout the region, and everybody's going to pay. So I'm not really sure if Trump is too committed to that, seeing that most likely is going to be the outcome, but let's see. Oh, guys, make sure you're double tapping that screen and liking the video.
Over the oil. Now, a new report today in Reuters says a framework to end hostilities has been put together by Pakistan and exchanged with Iran and the U.S. overnight, outlining a two-tier approach with an immediate ceasefire followed by a comprehensive agreement. Despite these diplomatic conversations, U.S. and Israeli planes continue to hammer the Iranian regime as we are gathering new details about that daring rescue operation over the weekend that led that U.S. crew member to being rescued. Hundreds of U.S. Special Forces on the ground in southwestern Iran. You can see the province here where they were located. It was an hours-long operation, but again, ultimately, it was successful as a result of U.S. military and intelligence excellence. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said overnight, I spoke earlier with President Trump and personally congratulated him on his bold decision and a perfectly executed American mission to rescue the downed pilot from enemy territory. The president expressed his appreciation for Israel's help. I am deeply proud that our cooperation on and off the battlefield is unprecedented and that Israel could contribute to saving a brave American warrior. As this is
what pretty much Israel did was pretty much stop firing off in that region to give America time to go in there and we'll pretty much get our pilot. And it was still a pretty risky mission. We was able to pull it off and nobody killed. We got some wounded, but nobody killed. So thank God. So shout out to us being able to get our pilot back. But the main criticism about this operation is not the success of it, but it's why we even had to do it when we've been claiming air superiority for about over a month and this happens. So let's see how this further progresses, because this whole air superiority claim is getting more and more doubtful by the day.
Is taking place. The Iranians are continuing their ballistic missile attacks against Israel. A number of ballistic missiles were launched overnight towards central Israel. You can see aftermath video here in the northern part of the country. This is the city of Haifa. And at this scene of a direct impact from a ballistic missile, there are still 2 people missing. 2 were killed in this strike, and 2 again are believed to be buried under the rubble. So a lot of kinetic activity across the region, and the United States is preparing for the possibility, if a deal is not reached, that there will be significant escalation here in the region, and President Trump has promised to target Iranian power and energy infrastructure. Yeah. Guys?
All of this always an option on the table. But Trey, the breaking news that you just reported about this high-ranking Iranian official that was killed in the joint U.S.-Israeli airstrike, how could his death impact these potential negotiations to end this war that are ongoing right now?
Yeah, so Major General Majid Kadhimi was the man responsible.
Yeah, Majid Kadhimi. Yeah, it's pretty much the IRGC's intelligence chief who was pretty much killed in the airstrikes that they're talking about today in Tehran. And this is actually a pretty good win for us, because taking out their intelligence chief means that the intel that he had, that only him and a group sorry guys. But pretty much the intel that he had that a select few people also had is pretty much now gone. And it pretty much scrambles their intelligence when it comes to their head guy being taken out. So I'm not really sure how this affects their mosaic offense, where they're able to just go down the ladder and disappoint the next guy. But this is still a big win when it comes to cutting off the intelligence that Iran is getting. And we all know that Iran is getting intelligence from Russia, China, mainly on coordinates and all that good stuff, and possibly even weapons, because now they got Chinese shoulder missiles out there on the field, and that's what hit the jet.
For building the intelligence behind the current Iranian operations that are targeting U.S. forces and allies across the region. This includes Gulf countries. And so the fact that he was taken out, he is considered to be the number 2 person in the IRGC right now. And I'm told that there was actually another official taken out as well in that same strike. And that official is the commander of the Quds Forces Special Operations Unit, Ashgar Bakiri. And again, this gives you a sense of how the Israelis and the Americans are working together with their intelligence agencies to try and target individuals within the IRGC who are responsible for the ongoing attacks, again, to put pressure on the Iranian regime so that they come to the negotiating table and make a good faith deal.
You just wonder how many more of these individuals need to be killed before Iran realizes that these people cannot be replaced, or does that beg the question, Is everybody so replaceable in the IRGC and throughout the Iranian regime, Trey, that they can just keep this up?
I mean, it is a 1,000,000-man army. So understanding that it is a 1,000,000-man army, maybe a little bit less now. But yeah, they got other people to go through. And I'm pretty sure like I said, they set this stuff up before the war. They've already set up a chain of command to where, all right, if this guy goes, next guy's up, next guy's up. So they have a continuous way to always respond back through intelligence or through missiles or drones or however, or whatever leadership we're taking out at that time. I mean, even with Khomeini, as you've seen, Khomeini, as you've seen, we took him out and now his son's in power. The guy that was basically their Secretary of Defense, we took him out and now they got another IRGC. Now they got an IRGC commander in charge of that. So we're taking these guys out, but they're being quickly replaced within like a week or so. So, I mean, he got a good point. How long can they keep doing this? And they're showing us, well, we've been doing it for a month. So to be continued. Oh, God, let's make sure we're double tapping that screen and liking the video. Let's get more people on the conversation about double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support.
And, in perpetuity.
The Iranians have what is considered a mosaic defense. So they have prepared for this possibility that their top officials would be targeted. And I'm told that the intelligence chief, there were attempts to target him in the past, and he was relocating and moving different locations in an effort to get away from these strikes and these targeting attempts. The bottom line here is that the Iranians have the ability to fill the shoes of these officials. But as you go down the pecking order, these officials have less and less experience, and it makes it more difficult for the Iranians to continue the fight. We know they still have missiles and drones that they will use to target Gulf countries and U.S. forces around the region, also including Israel, the country. But when you step back here and you look at what's taking place, this is a systematic effort by the United States and Israel to go after the Iranian leadership structure, to decimate the military regime, and go after not only the launching positions of the ballistic missiles and the drones, but also the production lines of these facilities so that they're not able to make more weapons that can be used against U.S. forces or allies across the Middle East.
Well, the number 2 person in the IRGC killed is big news. So, Trey, we thank you so much for bringing it to us. Trey Yang's live for us in Tel Aviv. Trey, thank you. Let's bring in former NSC Chief of Staff under President Trump, Alex Gray. And Alex, of course, major news is, of course, this rescue mission to get the airman who was on Iranian soil for 30 hours out safely. And that happened over the weekend. Have you ever heard of a rescue mission like this taking place?
No, Carly. I mean, it really is the most extraordinary feat of American arms from a search and rescue and special operations perspective, probably since World War II. It's an extraordinary accomplishment. And I really just go back to the contrast between the last time we tried to do a major special operations search and rescue mission involving Iran, and that was 1980. That was the famous Desert One debacle under Jimmy Carter, when American special operators were killed when their helicopters crashed in the desert. And it goes back to the fact that leadership and resources matter. President Trump has made extraordinarily difficult decisions.
But all right, guys, let's see what they're saying on the left side of media here with CNN. Oh, guys, let's make sure we're double tapping that screen and liking the video, guys. Let's get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen or smashing the like button, depending on how you're watching. All right, let's get right back into it.
Well, Ben, we're getting a lot of reaction from Iranian officials to that.
Paula, what's the reaction to President Trump's newest demands to Iran? What can you tell us?
Well, Ben, we're getting a lot of reaction from Iranian officials to that social media post threatening to target power plants and bridges with the expletives as well. Now, we've heard from the Parliament Speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. He's really emerging as a very powerful voice in Tehran at this point, and he's accused Trump of pushing the US towards a living hell and warned that the region could burn. The Iranians have been saying that they will target in kind if there is civilian infrastructure targeted in Iran, in the Gulf region, and in areas where the US has interests. Now, we've also seen fairly tongue-in-cheek reaction from some of the Iranian embassies around the world to that outburst in that social media post. We've heard from the Iranian embassy in India saying swearing and throwing insults are how a sore loser brat behaves. Get a grip on yourself, old man. Now, there's also been criticism within the US. Chuck Schumer, for example, the Senate Minority Leader, calling Trump an unhinged madman from that expletive-laden social media post. We also had a response from the Foreign Ministry spokesperson. Let's listen to what he said.
Iran's reaction would be one of reciprocating any such attack. Our armed forces have made it clear that in case Iran's...
Oh, yeah, and if you haven't heard it already, I guess I'll go ahead and read it out to you. But Trump did make a pretty controversial statement on Truth Social, or a controversial post. So let's see. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. And just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump, which is wild for him to say that. Like, okay, praise be to Allah is wild. But hey, this is how this man's coming right now.
Infrastructure is attacked, we would react in kind. They would, our armed forces.
So, like I said, if Trump starts attacking energy infrastructure in Iran, they'll start attacking energy infrastructure in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Israel. I mean, it's going to be a complete blackout throughout the Middle East. Oh, and God forbid it attack the water desalination centers. Now we're going to have the entire Middle East and parts of Africa fighting over food and water. I mean, who want to see that?
Would target any similar infrastructure that is owned or in any way or manner related to the United States, or contributes to their act of aggression against Iran. Threatening to attack a country's critical infrastructure, energy sector, it would mean that you want to put at risk the whole population. And this is nothing less than war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Now, what we're seeing in Iran overnight, and then this Monday.
And I know my guys over there, MAGA's going like, well, no, how could you claim that the president wants to commit war crimes? And then there's somebody who just don't give a damn, who just says, well, war crimes and international laws for the weak. There's people who actually have that argument, sadly. But for those of you who says, how can you sit there and say that the president's going to commit war crimes? Well, yeah, if you blow up a bridge that's mainly used by civilians, it's a war crime. You blow up a power plant that's going to cause blackouts for mainly civilians, that's going to be a war crime. So I'm sorry. But yeah, Donald Trump threatening that was him pretty much threatening to commit war crimes against Iran, which is wild, by the way. I'm being look, I'll tell you this. Look, Obama did it too, but at least the man ain't post about it, or at least he ain't tell us he was gonna do it.
Monday morning with airstrikes from the US and Israel. From state media, we are seeing in Baharistan County, this is just southwest of the capital, a densely populated area. We see a number of residential buildings that appear to have been hit there. According to Fars news agency, they say some 13 have been killed. Then in the eastern part of Tehran, 4 killed in another residential area. Now, CNN cannot independently confirm these figures, but we are also seeing loss of life in Israel and elsewhere.
First of all, there are supposed to be some sort of diplomatic talks going on. Pakistan is leading them. I can't imagine they're going well if we're back to threats online.
Yeah, Pakistan is essentially acting as a shuttle for messages between the two. But look, the two sides are so far apart. And from Iran's perspective, why not wait for President Trump to crash into one of his own deadlines once again, or move it onward? Iran wins at home. Public opinion is shifting against Trump and his war. And they win in the international community.
Yeah, though it's hard to know what's going on in Iran given their crackdown, right, as the regime tries to take hold. But to your point of them digging in, when I look at the responses from Iranian embassies from around the world, because this is all being done by social media. The one in South Africa says, seriously, think about the 25th Amendment, Section 4. In Bulgaria, didn't know they had an Iranian embassy. Take it easy, Tiger. In Austria, saying he, quote, stooped to an unprecedented level of begging, laced with bitter, hollow rudeness and threats. The desperation is almost palpable. Sarah, can I come to you? Because they are speaking Trump's language in that they're doing it online. They're doing it in a very sort of memeable way. Can you talk about this response?
Yeah, well, one thing that's interesting always.
I mean, bro, they already dropped the Lego video. I mean, bro, already they have a new Lego video out. And if you want me to play it, shoot, I don't know, super chat in and I'll go ahead and play it. But make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support.
I'm thinking about the audience. So when you have Donald Trump, who has millions of followers on X and is a big global personality, I think there's a lot of visibility in terms of what his message is, where his message is reaching. I don't think anyone in America knows that those embassies are tweeting at us.
Yeah,
right
nobody's laying in bed being like, what's Bulgaria saying?
No
Sorry,
clue. So
Bulgaria.
Those threats sort of fall on deaf ears with the American public. What Senator Kaine was saying over the weekend is that when Donald Trump makes these types of threats, that doesn't fall on deaf ears. Even with the internet blackouts in Iran, when Donald Trump is saying something like that, the people in Iran are listening. And that matters because when you have a fighter who is being, crashing down in the mountains of Iran, sometimes you need the response of the people to make a decision.
I mean, it is wild, bro. Went from I'm gonna be the savior of the Iranian people and release them from the terrible Islamic regime to I'm about to commit war crimes on all y'all, each and every one. Open the Strait of Hormuz right to F now, or war crimes on everybody. It's just like, damn. Hold on, dog. I thought we were supposed to be their savior. What happened to that? But I told you that was never true. It was never about them, even though that's what they wanted you to believe. But hey, some of y'all fell for it, some of y'all didn't.
React. Are they going to turn him in or are they not? And so I don't think that this is the exact same thing. When Donald Trump says something, it's a pretty big effing deal in his words.
Yeah.
When these embassies say something, I don't think that they have as much impact, even though they're trying to match that tone.
At one point, the president says, praise be to Allah. This is how Stephen A. Smith talked about it.
You go on social media with a profanity-laced tirade, and then you're going to end it by saying, praise be to Allah. How do you think that's going to help us? How do you think that's going to help us throughout the world?
Literally.
I mean, seriously.
One more for you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has taken up a new religion, sort of anti-Trump at this point. She also was commenting because there's been a lot of conversation about how the Pentagon uses religious language.
Yes.
Anyway, so she was commenting. She says everyone in his administration that claims to be Christian needs to fall on their knees and beg forgiveness from God and stop worshiping the president and intervene in Trump's madness. And then she says what we've heard a lot. This is not what we promised the American people when they overwhelmingly voted in 2024.
No, they did not.
Can you talk about either the messenger?
No, and that's what's killing me, though. A lot of people are trying to gaslight us and say, oh, no, Trump's always just said he wanted to go to war with Iran. Man, I'm like, bro, shut your dumb ass up. I'm sorry, but a lot of people remember this. This is what we remember. I don't know what y'all talking about.
And they will never fight themselves. War hawks. They want to draft your kids to die in wars, and they will never fight themselves. We'll stay around the country for 15 years, just bomb the hell out of everybody, make everybody miserable. Nobody knows why we're there, the wars that never end. These endless wars that we've been in, I've gotten us out of so many. We don't want to get into wars. We're tired of fighting. I'm the only president in the last 84 years that didn't start a war. Under Trump, we will have no more wars. No more wars. No more wars. We will have prosperity and peace. We will have prosperity and we will have peace. Remember, I'm the president of peace. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. He's going to start a war. I said, no.
Y'all remember?
My rhetoric is going to keep us out of wars. And that's what happened. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
Y'all remember that? Yeah, y'all remember that, Trump? You remember when he was saying all that during his campaign? Then once he goes to war, we got a good amount of MAGA just going well, he always wants to go to war with Iran. What are you guys talking about? Please don't gaslight us. Come on now. Just admit that you guys were always pro-war and you've been hiding behind MAGA, and then to, go ahead and show y'all fiendish face. Y'all pro-war fiendish face. Y'all been hiding behind the anti-war populist movement, and now here you guys are. Y'all took over. Shout out to Laura Loomer and Mark Levin. We're cooked. But we tried. All right, but make sure it got buys. Make sure to double tap that screen, like the video. Let's make sure we're getting those likes up, and also smash the like button, depending on how you're watching. I'm talking mainly to the guys on the vertical live when I'm talking about double tapping.
Yours here or the message?
Well, peace does not seem to be at hand in Iran, I'd say that. And the events over the weekend just seems to embolden both sides to stick it out and see what happens next. We're not getting closer to a negotiated settlement. We're getting farther away from them. The rescue of the airmen, for which we were all grateful, was a demonstration to Trump about we can do whatever we want militarily and succeed, but at a great cost. And from Iran's point of view, that is a cost worth forcing the United States to pay again.
One of the things I'm noticing now is Trump is talking about power infrastructure, going against that. And then I want to play one more thing for you. This is from some Israeli officials who are also talking about threatening infrastructure. It's Israel Katz, who's the defense minister.
The terrorist regime in Iran continues to launch missiles at the Israeli home front, killing and harming Israeli civilians. If they continue firing at civilians in Israel, we will strike and destroy Iran's national infrastructure. We have severely damaged the steel infrastructure and the petrochemical industry. And today and every day, there will be more to come.
Before, there was a sense that the U.S. and Israel wanted to preserve something of Iran's infrastructure. Do I have that right?
Absolutely.
Is that shifting?
Absolutely. But I think we see it to the points that we've been making here in a reckless way, in a way that's not really thinking strategically about what are going to be the ramifications of doing this. I was with a former NSC official over the weekend, and they were explaining that.
I'll be real with you. It's such a bad idea. I really don't think Trump is going to do it. Like, I don't know. I don't want to hop on the whole taco Trump train, but trust me, I'm not. But it's just not a good idea. And the blowback from it is just not worth it. Like, I'm really thinking here going like, bro, what would be the point of you doing this? Like, well, are you trying to throw the Middle East into turmoil? If that's the plan, then I mean, okay, you're doing a great job. But if that's not the plan, then what are you doing? I mean, for all you know, that might just be his plan. You never know.
Sometimes you choose not to strike certain targets because it's just not worth it. One, it might be a war crime. And in these cases, I think this is a very legitimate question to be having about what kind of information is Pete Hegseth getting about what targets they're choosing and what the legal, not just the legal ramifications could be, but the national security and the military ramifications. And I've spoken to so many officials who say, like, infrastructure like this for the whole population, when you are going to be turning off incubators for babies and things like that, that is a much, much more serious question to have. And that should be a topic of discussion with expertise. I think we're also seeing in this war kind of the death of expertise. Where are the experts who are coming in and saying this may not be legal or this may not be the right thing? I don't think those people are getting.
And with that initial strike that landed on a school.
Honestly, don't sound like anybody's telling Trump to, pump the brakes, bro. Pump the brakes. If you commit to this, first off, I mean, war crimes, and then this war is already unpopular, so you might lose the midterms. And if you lose the House and the Senate, not only will you most likely be impeached, but they are going to try to take you to jail. They're going to try to press charges on you. They are. So why risk it like this for just to be abandoned in the end? Because, look, bro, the pro-Israel crowd ain't going to stick up for you when them charges come, nor when the impeachment comes. So what is he doing?
There was maybe it's an early start. Now we're deep in, and you have even people like Ann Coulter saying online, I really wish legal experts hadn't screamed bloody murder about every little thing Trump did so they could with authority now that he's actually committing war crimes.
Yeah, Hegseth saying that see no quarter toward.
Are you serious? Really? So they could actually speak with authority now that he's actually committing war crimes. I'm done. All right, Ann Coulter. All right.
The forces, and also now talking about, there are international criminal court judgments against Russia for doing this in Ukraine. You can militarily, under the Geneva Conventions, hit some parts of the power grid if they're purely for military purposes.
Right.
But if you do it on an extended basis and you add in things like desalination plants, which is what Trump is threatening to do.
And low key, there's no way you can constitute that as just a military target. A water desalination plant, like, bro, all the citizens in Iran are using that. You're pretty much telling them, well, F your drinking water, F the bathing water. Y'all just gonna have to suffer. And yeah, bro, that's a war crime. That's not, I mean, real with you, that is just not a good look on the world stage. And then there's some people ignorant enough to sit there and say, we're America, we're too strong, we don't have to obey now international law or war crimes. I'm sorry, but what makes us any better than our enemy at that point? Well, we're just as lawless as you claim the Iranians are.
Posted a Truth Social saying Tuesday. So the president posted a Truth Social saying Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, appearing to refer to his previous post where he threatened Iran's power plants and bridges if they do not open the Strait of Hormuz by Tuesday. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford says the president is urging Iran to take that diplomatic off-ramp.
What he is telling people is that I want to give them a diplomatic out. He's trying to give them every opportunity to make the right choice, do the right thing. And I think that window is going to be open for a little while longer, but after that, it's going to close decisively and the president will take action.
President Trump told Fox News' Trey Yingst that negotiations are currently underway, and he believes there's a good chance a deal could be reached by tomorrow. However, Trump warned that failure to comply could result in the U.S. seizing Iran's oil. Iran's parliament speaker responded to the threats, claiming the U.S. will gain nothing from what he termed, quote, war crimes, and saying the only solution is for the U.S. to end this, quote, dangerous game. President Trump will deliver a press conference tomorrow where he will also likely discuss the successful rescue of the F-15E crew member who was shot down over Iran on Friday. But joining us now is Ambassador Mike Froman, former U.S. trade representative and current president of the Council on Foreign Relations. Ambassador Froman, first of all, happy Easter. Thank you for taking the time with us. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So we've seen the Truth Social posts today. The left is not happy about them, but President Trump issuing a very stark and very colorful warning.
All right, guys, the attacks have already started. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Crap. Let's get right into it here.
All right, we'll begin with breaking news. There are reports of an attack on Iran's South Pars petrochemical facility. This, as Iran says, negotiations are incompatible with threats as the US and Iran step up their attacks on Iran. Let's now go straight to Tawhid Asadi, who's live for us in Iran's capital. So what do we know about this attack on the South Pars facility?
Obviously, this is going to be a major development, and this is just the initial report that came in.
Hey, shout out to my man. He's what was it? Joyner. Noah Joyner. Hey, that is you. He says, good morning, set. Here's for the Lego video. And shout out to my man Joyner coming in from Rumble with a Rumble rant. Appreciate the support, my man. And I got you. We're going to go ahead and get through this quick little breaking news because there has been an attack on one of Iran's petrochemical petrochemical facilities. So let's get right into that because crap.
Let's now go straight to Tawhid Asadi, who's live for us in Iran's capital. So what do we know about this attack on the South Pars facility?
Obviously, this is going to be a major development, and this is just the initial report that came in from Fars News Agency, affiliated with or with close relations with IRGC. They came out with this very breaking news to say that the enemy attacked the South Pars petrochemical complex in the city of Asaluye, and also they're saying that a few minutes ago, several explosions were heard from South Pars petrochemical complex in that city. And also they're saying that additional information details are going to be published very soon. That is the only thing so far we have. But contextually speaking, we know that we're talking about one of the very, very important energy facilities of the country. And also that comes within the context of the threats by the US president regarding a deadline in which there is a potentiality for further escalation for the infrastructure, including oil and energy infrastructures of the country, to be targeted. And that's obviously part and parcel of the sustained airstrikes that we have been witnessing. Another major blow that that Iran faced very recently was actually the announcement that we heard from IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, about the killing of the head of intelligence organization of IRGC, Majid Khademi, in the series of airstrikes that took place last night in the eastern, western, and southern areas of the Iranian capital. And added to that, we also know that we are dealing with this continued airstrikes across the country in different cities such as Karaj, Shiraz, and Isfahan. And I would say there is a long list such as Bandar Lengez, Qom, Baharistan, Shahryar. In some of these cases, we have fatalities, and these airstrikes are going on while Iran is talking about retaliatory strikes, in very particular talking about this energy complex that is said to be targeted. Previously, we heard from the spokesperson of the Khatamul Anbiya military headquarters to talk about retaliatory strikes. They said that if the attacks on the civilian units of the country continue, this time there's going to be a widespread retaliation down the road, and they're talking about more devastating waves of their retaliation, targeting the USSS across the region or other infrastructure supporting the USSS or US military bases across the region, as well as the Israel.
And that has already started. Iran says it struck a U.S. force on Kuwait's Baba'an Island. Let's get into this.
Of escalation in Iran. Now, the threat of escalation in Iran has put the Gulf region directly in the line of fire. Iran's army says that U.S. forces located on Kuwait's Baba'an Island were targeted. Health authorities in Kuwait also report that 6 people.
Oh, guys, make sure you guys are double tapping that screen and liking the video, guys. Let's get more people in on the conversation. If you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, you can go ahead and super chat that in. I'll be a great way to support the show and keep it engaging. But all right, guys, let's get right to it. And don't forget to like that video or double tap that screen.
People have been injured after debris from a missile landed in a residential area. And for more on that, let's go to Kuwait City, where Malik Trainer is live for us. Well, you've been monitoring those developments across the Gulf now. What do we know exactly as to what's happened there?
Well, as you mentioned, we saw from the Khatam al-Anbiya spokesperson saying that they targeted American forces in the Baba'an Island here in Kuwait. What we've seen throughout this conflict is if and when American bases are hit, we usually don't hear something from the host countries. This, just a few weeks ago, we heard in Saudi Arabia when the Air Sultan Air Base was hit and 15 people were injured. Confirmation came later from the Americans themselves. So I don't think we'll hear anything from the Kuwaitis as to that. But we've seen a range of attacks across the Gulf. 6 people injured, as you mentioned, in the northern Kuwait due to debris from an interception in a residential area. In the UAE, we've seen attacks in Abu Dhabi, in the industrial city, where one person, a Ghanaian national, was injured. Another attack in the Fujairah area, where authorities responded to an incident at a telecommunications company. And we've seen also in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they're serious about attacking our tech companies in the Middle Eastern region. Like, they're not playing.
Where the Ministry of Defense said it intercepted 2 drones. So, as this war continues, there has been no letting up of these retaliation attacks across the Gulf.
And
so, yeah, they've already responded. And I mean, they already said they were going to attack our tech companies. And it looks like we've started this escalation ladder now by attacking one of their main petrochemical complexes. I mean, let's see how this works out.
Territories.
Okay, thank you very much, Tawhid Asadi. That's the latest breaking news coming out of Iran. And here in the studio, Al Jazeera's Osama bin Javid joins us live. So this South Pars facility that's been hit, this isn't the first time, but this perhaps is just a section of it. But the gas field is shared with Qatar as well, isn't it?
Well, it is one of the world's largest gas facilities. It's shared with Qatar and Iran. South Pars on the Iranian side and the North Field here in Qatar. And as you mentioned, this is the second time that we're hearing of attacks near South Pars. It's not yet clear what's the detail of how big this attack is, what it has targeted, and how will it affect any supplies. It is not just one of the largest producers of gas in the world. You have to remember that Iran is the world's 4th largest consumer of LNG. South Pars is essentially the lifeline for electricity and industrial production and everything else in Iran as well. So it is of huge importance, not just to Iran, but to the entire region as well. And we've been hearing the Iranians, as soon as anything that has been mentioned about their energy facilities, their oil infrastructure, they've said that they will retaliate, and they will retaliate in huge fashion. You remember that when their energy facilities, oil facilities, Harg Island were hit, in retaliation, they hit multiple refineries across the region in the UAE, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, and even the Ras Laffan gas field here in Qatar as well. So we'll have to wait and see on what this is, but it appears that this is a serious and significant development in the escalation ladder, because if the idea was to bring tensions down, to open the Strait of Hormuz, to bring Iran to the table, this kind of attack needs to be avoided rather than repeated.
And also because, if you said, this triangle of the US, but you also have Qatar with part ownership of that South Pars field. So we'll wait and see what the extent of the damage is. All of this just before Trump's deadline, which is less than 24 hours away from now. At the same time, you've been speaking to Pakistani officials. What have they been telling you? Because so far, Pakistan has almost become the default mediator in this war.
Absolutely. So in the last few weeks, it is just Pakistan, which is essentially taking the messages from the Americans to the Iranians and vice versa. As you heard from the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman, the American plan of 15 points that was rejected, they're still trying to push their line forward, that they need reparations. They don't want to talk about their ballistic missiles program. They're okay to talk about nuclear enrichment as well as giving up or diluting some of the enriched uranium that they have in the country. But all of that, as you heard from the Iranians, cannot happen under the threat of violence, as they're continuing to field attacks on their leadership, on their towns, on their cities, on their institutions. They cannot, in good faith, enter into negotiations. And that's where the Pakistanis are, that they're taking those messages to them. They're finding it.
Yeah, and that's what all they're doing. That's what I'm saying. It's indirect negotiations. Pretty much, they're just sending back each other's demands and seeing what's reasonable, or what's each side considers reasonable. And of course, Iran sticks at her point. Look, we want to talk about our nuclear capabilities, but we're not talking about our ballistic missiles. We're not talking about our proxies. But we'll come to the table over our nuclear capabilities and, diluting our uranium and all that good stuff. But what we're not going to do is limit our ballistic missiles, so we basically can't defend ourselves. And we're also not going to start engaging our proxies because, well, sadly, they actually believe in the cause of Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. I mean, they truly believe in it. So I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of like a moral quandary right there.
Hard to get the message across because the top tier leadership.
But let me go ahead and get out. Let me go ahead and get over here to my man Noah's video. Shout out to my man Noah. Remember, look, I ain't want to play. This is Noah's idea.
Yeah. Power plant day. Bridge day. You scared of the pictures? Power plant day. Bridge day. Open the fucking straight or you'll be living in hell. Censor the satellites. How what we did to your bases. You're losing your mind and then you're losing this war. Face it. You tweet like a madman, threatening power plants and bridges. Praise be to Allah. You sound unhinged, you bitch. You want us living in hell, but you're the one scared of the sky. Begging every satellite company to hide what we did to your guys. 17 bases hit, C-130 and Black Hawk's gone. 100 million wasted just to save one pawn. Now you're blocking the photos so the world doesn't see how bad little Iran fucked up your military. Power plant, bridge day. Open the fucking straight or you'll be living in hell. Censor the satellites. How what we did to your bases. You're losing your mind, then you're losing this war. Face it. Sacred defense. We still standing. You censoring the sky.
These guys love this AI video with Lego stuff. They just been sticking to it. But all right, though, let's get right back into it, guys. Let's make sure double tap that screen and like the video. Appreciate the support, by the way, for you being here. But let's make sure we're double tapping that screen and getting more people engaged and getting more people in, spreading the word. But all right, let's get right into it.
Here's my take. Well into the second month of the US-Israeli war, it is worth taking stock of where things stand. Here's what things look like in Iran and its neighborhood before the war began in late February. In June 2025, Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities had been, in President Trump's words, completely and totally obliterated by a 12-day bombing campaign by US and Israeli forces using American stealth bombers and 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs. The head of Israel's defense forces agreed with Trump, saying, "We have set Iran's nuclear project back by years, and the same goes for its missile program." That conclusion was reiterated by Israel's Atomic Energy Commission, which added that the achievement can continue indefinitely as long as Iran did not get access to nuclear materials, and that access was actively being denied. Iran's military capabilities had been substantially weakened by separate Israeli air campaigns in 2024, which killed key Revolutionary Guard leaders, destroyed air defenses, and struck ballistic missile facilities. Israel also heavily bombed Iran's most deadly militia ally, Hezbollah, killing several layers of its top leadership and, by many analyses, crippling the military strength of the organization. It had already taken apart Hamas in Gaza. Finally, Israel's campaign against the Iran-backed militias that supported the Syrian government played a part in the collapse of that regime in December 2024. In other words, Iran was in very bad shape militarily. In addition, its economy was a mess, destroyed by the tightening of sanctions and its own corrupt regime. Hardly anyone could argue that Iran posed a threat to its neighbors, let alone to the United States, which sits roughly 6,000 miles away. Donald Trump effectively admitted this on Wednesday.
We don't have to be there, but we're there to help our allies.
It's worth noting that none of America's European or Asian allies were consulted, and many have spoken out against the war.
True.
In fact, reports suggest that Prime Minister...
Actually, what was it? All of our allies actually pretty upset that we didn't inform them that we were going to do this so they can brace themselves or at least try to talk us out of it. No, we just did it. We made a mess, and now we're over here asking NATO, going like, well, I mean, why don't you guys clean it up? This affects mostly you guys. And I mean, like, here's the thing. I know we've always had this gripe against NATO because they don't pull their fair weight. But to try to drag them into a conflict is just distasteful. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just not good. We could have just separated from them on the guidelines of you guys aren't carrying your weight when it comes to your military spending, so we're out. We could have did it like that, and we'd have been fully justified. Trying to do it under these grounds is just not it. Like, it just looks bad.
Mr. Bibi Netanyahu sold Trump on this war, not because Iran was an imminent threat, but because its unprecedented weakness provided an opportunity to strike hard to effect regime change. Why else would Trump have closed his brief announcement at the start of the war by urging the Iranian people to rise up and overthrow the regime, a call echoed by Netanyahu in his own message? So far, aside from devastating Iran and crippling its already weak military, which was predictable in such a one-sided contest, few of the desired results have been achieved. The regime has not fallen. Key leaders have changed for the worse. The 86-year-old Ayatollah Khamenei, who famously banned the development of nuclear weapons, was killed and replaced by his son, who is said to be more hardline than his father. AKA
he disagreed with the fatwa or the religious ruling against, nuclear weapons. And a lot of people did. They didn't really like the fact that Khomeini made that law. They followed it because he's the supreme leader, but they didn't like the law because, like, well, you got to understand, bro, they're aggressing against us. They're saying we are anyway, and they're treating us like we are, so we might as well make one. He's like, no, we're not, because this is sin against God. And this is what Khomeini believed. But now that he's out the picture, his son is in there. We're not sure if he's going to keep it. Well, we're not sure if he holds that same belief as his father did. He might just say, F it. I told my dad that, look, we should have had nukes a long time ago. He didn't listen. And now look where we're at. So we're going for nukes. And that is what we don't want. Like, we would hate for that. Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's go ahead and try to get those likes up by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
Well, the Revolutionary Guards, who have always been more militant, seem to be ascendant, which makes sense in times of war. The Strait of Hormuz, which was free and open despite many threats through 47 years of US-Iran tensions, is now blocked by the new leadership, whom Trump terms much more reasonable. President Trump says that after a few more bombing runs, the strait will open naturally because Iran will want to export its own oil. This misreads the situation. The strait is not closed. It is open to Iranian oil, which is flowing freely, especially to China. The net result of the war is that Iran now makes about twice as much on its daily oil sales compared to before the conflict. In addition, if it continues,
I mean, yeah, they're getting paid like $2 million as an entry fee, and then they're also getting their oil bought in Chinese yuan. So now, yeah, they're making more money, and they're trying to de-dollarize, well, the Middle East in a way by getting all of their oil all their oil sales not done in dollars but into Chinese yuan.
Continues to charge a reported $2 million per passing ship, Tehran will make hundreds of millions of dollars in additional revenue every month, enough to rebuild its military and more. America's Gulf allies now face a far more unstable and tense environment than they did before the war. Their business models require peace, stability, and economic integration. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had mended ties with Iran in 2023 because he wanted to calm geopolitical waters to pursue his ambitious program of modernization. Today, all that progress is in jeopardy as oil exports are crippled and the region has gone from having a path to be an oasis of stability rather than a cauldron of conflict. The obvious winner is Russia, which will make billions of extra dollars every month as the price of oil rises and America waives sanctions against it. Ukraine loses as weapons it needs are diverted to the Middle East. Europe loses as it faces crushing energy costs, and Trump demands that NATO fight his war and threatens to pull out of the organization if it doesn't.
Not a good
It's
look.
worth noting that NATO is a defensive alliance and did not fight in the wars in Korea, Vietnam, or Iraq. China gains as America gets mired in another Middle Eastern conflict and loses its focus on Asia. Meanwhile, Beijing's massive...
So guys, we got about good 25 of y'all in here, man. Do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on a conversation by double tapping that screen. We got about 25. Let's get to 15.
Investments in green technology shield it from many of the costs of this war, and it appears to the world as a more responsible, less disruptive superpower. Of course, things could change. Wars are unpredictable, but so far, has any American military action ever racked up so many costs for so few gains? I'm joined by Richard Haas, the President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Well, you know, if you listen to the right wing, they're going to, or Fox News, they're going to hit us with the, it's short-term pain for long-term gain. And I mean, bro, that's what everybody's going to hit y'all with. Well, please tell me what we're gaining, or we're still doing the pain thing. Because right now, all we're really feeling is the pain of it. Now, we do have military success, but that's not enough to bring down gas prices. And you bombing oil infrastructure in the Middle East isn't really going to help with gas prices at all. And if Iran retaliates to that, we're all effed. We're all effed when it comes to gas prices. We're all going to have to start getting electric vehicles at that point.
And Zanny Minton-Beddoes, the editor-in-chief of The Economist. Richard, the American forces were able to do something extraordinary, really quite spectacular. But what the president is now asking them to do next appears to be to bomb the basic energy infrastructure, power plants that provide civilians with energy. That is traditionally been considered a war crime, and it certainly on plain reading is a violation of the Geneva Convention. What do you think of this idea? And is it possible U.S. military personnel who are told not to follow illegal orders might have some qualms about actually executing an order like this?
Well, several things there, Fareed. First of all, you're right. The rescue mission was operationally extraordinary, and it's consistent with this war, where the operational capabilities of the U.S. military have been phenomenal. But all that said, it doesn't necessarily mean the United States is winning the war strategically. There's a strong argument we are not. What you raise is the idea of going after infrastructure. I think it does raise fundamental legal questions, also raises real policy questions, because what Iran has shown is its willingness and ability to respond in kind against the water plants, the energy infrastructure of all of its neighbors. Whether individual soldiers would balk, I think that's unlikely, simply because there are those making the argument that because energy, for example, somehow contributes to military activities or leadership activities, my guess is it's in something of a gray area. But this is the responsibility of the commander-in-chief, and the kind of post that the president put out on Truth Social, which really raises fundamental questions about his judgment, and then urging these kinds of attacks. Again, I would think this does the opposite of reassuring our partners and allies, and I don't think it intimidates Iran.
Let me just read for.
It doesn't, because and I don't think it doesn't either. Why? Because they already know, and Trump already knows what the reaction is going to be. And if Trump's okay with the reaction, then I'm gonna be real with you. I hope Trump got some like master 5D chess plan for what we're gonna do without that energy and all the other things that come out of that Strait of Hormuz and out of the Middle East. Because if we attack Iran's energy infrastructure and they attack, Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure, the energy infrastructure, with Qatar's, UAE's, Oman's, that's gonna affect everybody around the world. And I mean, if that's his plan, I mean, shoot, then please tell us the end of this plan, because I'm gonna be real with you, this is gonna damn near destroy the global economy. And a lot of people are treating this as, oh, he's being serious. Oh, he's really putting his foot down. I'm just like, yeah, I hear you. But if he commits to this, not only would he be committing war crimes, but he might basically be destroying the world economy, because Iran will most likely attack. And I don't even think Iran's expecting Trump to follow through with this, because, well, let's be honest, the retaliation is going to be crazy. And here's the thing, attacks have already started. So guess what? We're gonna see, guys, because I believe I played the video already. There was already an attack on one of their main petrochemical complexes. So since there was an attack already, now we got to see what Iran's next move is. And I'm be real with you guys. I mean, it's most likely they're going to be hitting energy infrastructure in Israel, Saudi Arabia, or Qatar. So let's see. God forbid, though. God forbid.
Those who have missed it, this is a Trump tweet that Richard is referencing, and it says.
And double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support.
And I'm now quoting, and there is explicit language, but I am quoting the President of the United States. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. Zanny, when you listen to this, the question I have in a way is, the problem Trump seems to have found himself in is anything he does to punish Iran is almost certainly going to raise the price of oil, because Iran will respond to energy infrastructure in the Gulf, because they will keep the Strait of Hormuz closed, that is close to non-Iranian oil. So it feels as though Trump has sort of backed himself into a corner, assuming the Iranians will absorb pain, which they seem willing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing to say is I was as shocked hearing you read that post as I was reading it myself. And it is, and I use this word advisedly, it sounds unhinged. That is the President of the United States is just profoundly shocking. And I think we've all become somewhat inured to statements by the President of the United States, but even by his standards, that was very shocking. And I wasn't surprised when I looked up.
Oh, guys, we got about 28 of y'all over there in the vertical eye, man. Do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's make sure we're liking the video and getting more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen. So about 28 of y'all. Let's see if we can get to 15.
On my phone just a few minutes ago to find several people asking whether this was actually real. So I think, let's just take a breath about the kind of language being used by the president. But yes, you're absolutely right. I think this is a mark of his frustration, and his frustration with a situation where Iran clearly has the upper hand in strategic terms, because he has no good options, President Trump. If he tries to escalate, it is likely that Iran, which has already shown that it will escalate itself, will damage more oil installations. The price of oil will go higher. If he somehow declares victory and moves away, then the straits are likely to stay closed. And so right now, this is a very, very difficult situation, and one where I think the President of the United States is showing us just how frustrated he is. But if those threats were to be carried out, I don't for a second think that it would do anything other than increase Iran's resolve to maintain the straits being closed.
Yeah, they're only seeing good results out of it. It's like the straits are closed or controlled. They're getting the money out of it. I'm not really seeing a win for the U.S. And the fact that Trump is going like, well, NATO, you do it. I mean, that doesn't really give us good signs at all either. Because Lord knows, like, NATO can't do it if we can't do it. But all right, let's get right into it. Let's do a little bit more Fox News, and then we're going to go ahead and get into independent media. Let's get right into it here.
So the president posted a Truth Social saying Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, appearing to refer to his previous post where he threatened Iran's power plants and bridges if they do not open the Strait of Hormuz by Tuesday. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford says the president is urging Iran to take that diplomatic off-ramp.
What he is telling people is that I want to give them a diplomatic out. He's trying to give them every opportunity to make the right choice, do the right thing, and I think that window is going to be open for a little while longer, but after that it's going to close decisively and the president will take action.
President Trump told Fox News' Trey Yingst that negotiations are currently underway, and he believes there's a good chance a deal could be reached by tomorrow. However, Trump warned that failure to comply could result in the U.S. seizing Iran's oil. Iran's parliament speaker responded to the threats, claiming the U.S. will gain nothing from what he termed, quote, war crimes, and saying the only solution is for the U.S. to end this, quote, dangerous game. President Trump will deliver a press conference tomorrow where he will also likely discuss the successful rescue of the F-15E crew member who was shot down over Iran on Friday. But joining us now is Ambassador Mike Froman, former U.S. Trade Representative and current president of the Council on Foreign Relations. Ambassador Froman, first of all, happy Easter. Thank you for taking the time with us. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So we've seen the Truth Social posts today. The left is not happy about them, but President Trump issuing a very stark and very colorful warning to Iran. Do they take the off-ramp or do they face the consequences? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think we've all learned to sort of separate the signal from the noise. And the signal here is clearly that the president is losing patience with the Iranians. He set deadlines before, but now we have a massive amount of armaments in the region. We've gotten the flyer out, thankfully, over the last 24 hours. And he seems to be saying that this time he means it, that if they don't reopen the Straits of Hormuz by Tuesday, there will be further attacks on their infrastructure and on their power plants. I think the real question is on the negotiation side of things. We're now talking about talking. We're trying to get to the table and have a meaningful negotiation. When you look at the 15-point proposal that the president has laid out and the 5-point response that the Iranians have laid out, there's almost no overlap. So it's hard to see a fundamental agreement on the underlying points. Hopefully, we can return to a situation that existed prior to the war when the Straits of Hormuz was open and oil and other products were flowing through there freely.
Ambassador Froman, thanks very much for joining us this evening. I want to talk about Iran's leadership. The U.S. and especially the Israelis have been targeting Iran's leadership. But behind all of that is the Revolutionary Guard Corps. They have been entrenched in Iranian society for decades. Do you get the sense that after this conflict is finished, or at least as part of all of this, that there could be a better government that emerges, or is this an Iranian government that will emerge that's more dangerous?
Well, there's no signs. Westerners are often looking at Iran to say, where are the moderates that we can deal with? And we've done so for decades.
Yeah, we blew them all up. That's the problem with the moderates that we're looking for. They're all gone because we blew them all up. And now we got nothing but hardliners. And now we're trying to blow up the hardliners back to moderates. And I mean, that's not really working. It's not working. I'll say that right now.
No real sign that the current leadership in Iran is moderate in any way, whether it's the new Ayatollah or, of course, the IRGC, as you mentioned, which controls not just the security apparatus very effectively, putting down protesters, killing tens of thousands of them, but also controls a significant part of the economy. And so it's very unclear. At the end of this conflict, Iran is clearly going to be a much weakened military power with its nuclear capability, its missiles capability, and other capabilities that it had seriously degraded. But it still may be a very oppressive regime without much moderation to be seen.
You know, Ambassador, on that note, we've taken out many of Iran's leaders. How difficult does that make negotiations? You know, who are we negotiating with? How familiar?
I mean, we're not really negotiating. We're over here sending demands at this point, and that's why Trump came to that ultimatum like, yo, 48 hours, open up or it's on. We're just going to start bombing energy infrastructure and apparently bridges as well. So, like I said, let's see what happens. Hopefully I mean, honestly, I would hope that Iran bends the knee, comes to the negotiation table and gives it all up, but that's just so unlikely. So they're pretty much going to see, well, let's see if Trump is about it. And we all know that Trump is most likely going to do it, sadly. So I hope he does it, because if he does, like I said, the Middle East is going to be thrown into turmoil because everybody's going to be greenlit throughout the Middle East by Iranian rockets. And we're talking about their energy infrastructure, water salination centers. Yeah, those.
Here are we with them?
They'll be sending their best rockets, by the way.
We don't have a lot of visibility into what's going on inside Tehran itself, at least not publicly. And so, yes, the new Ayatollah hasn't been seen. The IRGC is still very much in power. The Speaker of the Parliament is engaging publicly and with us. The Foreign Minister is engaging. And so we deal with the people that we can deal with. We don't really know who's calling the shots back in Tehran, which complicates the negotiations. But again, hopefully behind the scenes, more clear things are being said to each other. There's more space for negotiation, and hopefully we're having real communication between whoever they tee up and the folks on our side.
Ambassador, you said we have our proposals, they have theirs. There's not much light in between them. You know, we got different. You know, it's very difficult to negotiate. Correct? Is there a possibility that you don't need a deal? We stop attacking you. You let the strait open. The simplest of all, just no fighting. Is that possible, that something like that could happen?
I mean, that's not only possible, it may be the most likely solution.
Yeah.
I think that the difference now is that.
But I mean, here's a problem, though. I don't think the neocons are going to let Trump get away with this, and neither is the liberals. They're going to sit there and say, all right, so what do we get out of this war? Do we get regime change? No. Is there, I mean, bro, do we have control of Iran nuclear capabilities? No. And also, like, what was the third option as well? Grinding down their military capabilities. I mean, well, for stopping the fight, I mean, look, that just means we're stopping the fight. If we pop back on, they'll still be able to fire these missiles at will. So what would we really be earning from stopping it right now? And that's what I want. That's what I want. But politically, I know it's going to look bad for Trump. This is why I think there's really just no turning back for him, sadly. Kind of walked himself into a corner with this one.
Iran has demonstrated that even with seriously degraded air defenses, missile capabilities, drone capabilities, and naval capabilities, it can still wreak havoc. It can still shoot down planes, sink ships, or damage them, chill shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. And it may tighten its control over the Strait of Hormuz if the U.S., which has traditionally been in the business of keeping open the sea lanes of communication, these important shipping lanes all around the world, that's been a fundamental principle of the U.S. Navy, of the U.S. military strategy. If we're no longer in that business, then Iran may well impose a toll or let only those ships that it is comfortable and wants to let out into international commerce.
Ambassador, how has this war changed the regional relationship, not just the United States and Israel and Iran, but also the Gulf countries? It seems, Iran's response has been extremely aggressive.
Well, I'm be real with you. It's like the relationship change is going to happen. Is like I said, they're going to see us as more of a liability to keep in the region than an asset. And it's either going to cut us off, hopefully, and this doesn't happen, but it's either they cut us off completely or they tell us, well, now you have to limit the amount of troops or the amount of military presence that you have here. And that could be them pretty much capitulating to Iran's power at the end of the day. Because as we shown, we can't protect all of these guys, and their bases are getting hit. I mean, apparently, allegedly, there was a base hit in Beirut. So let's see what comes of that.
Going after
Beirut,
the countries that hold a U.S. presence. How does that change the politics and the geopolitical conversation in the region?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, the decision by Iran to retaliate not just against Israel and the United States bases, but against Kuwaiti oil facilities, Qatari gas facilities, lots of other countries in the region, including Oman, has now driven those countries to want to take action, want to defend themselves, and conceivably to work more closely with a U.S.-led coalition in the region. And so these countries are looking at their security going forward. They see an Iran in the future that may be wounded, but maybe like a wounded animal in the corner that strikes out at its neighbors in unpredictable ways. And that's a very dangerous situation for them. They're going to want to have close relationships, I believe, with the U.S. going forward.
Ambassador Lisa here, if I heard you correctly, you said the potential end result could be walking away after reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. If that's the case, was this worth it? If that's the end result?
Well, look, for 47 years, the Iranian regime has terrorized not just the region, but U.S. interests around the world. I mean, what has changed over the last year has been the willingness of the U.S. Together with Israel and some of its regional partners, some of the U.S.'s regional partners, to take military action to change the dynamic. So to the 12-day war last year, to bomb the nuclear facilities, the aggressive efforts to degrade their missile capabilities, to sink their official navy. Those are all new elements there. And we leave Tehran in a much
Well, and here's the problem, though. If we want to accomplish a good amount of those goals, it's going to cost us. Like I said, to handle all of their nuclear capabilities, and then they're not willing to let us do so, we're going to have to put boots on the ground. To take care of all their missile capabilities, the one that they got underground, that's going to require boots on the ground. To get a regime change is going to require boots on the ground. So all the goals that we truly want can only be done by an action that we honestly don't want to take.
Much weakened position. They're no longer going to be able to wreak the kind of havoc they did before, but they still, this is the thing about asymmetric warfare. You know, for the U.S., in an asymmetric warfare, asymmetric war has to win. Iran just has to survive. It just has to not lose. And with relatively few capabilities, it can still cause a lot of chaos in the region.
Good point, Patrick.
Ambassador Mike Froman, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
And all right,
Thanks
guys.
for having me.
All right, I think I got one more video from Fox, and then we're going to go ahead and get into independent media. Let's see here.
Ahead of President Trump's latest threat to Iran, Israel launched a series of strikes on a key chemical manufacturing site where the regime produces materials for ballistic missiles. But Iran continues to fire back at Israel. Take a look at Haifa, Israel, where several people are believed to be trapped after an Iranian missile strike hit a residential building. Let's bring in the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon. Ambassador Danon, tell us a little bit about these strikes on the petrochemical plants. You're trying to strip Iran of the ability to make rocket fuel, basically.
Thank you for having me again, John. As you mentioned earlier, we continue to strike strategic targets in Iran. You know, we have a long list. We accomplished a lot. And now we are targeting those sites, you know, and we have more, and we will continue to do that. You know, today here in the US, you celebrate Easter. In Israel, we celebrate Passover. It's supposed to be a time of celebration, but Israelis are...
Oh, yeah, happy Easter, everybody. Hopefully I had a happy Easter Sunday and all that good stuff. So, hey, hopefully you guys had a great Easter. You know I did. So, all right, let's get right back into it.
Now, most of them in shelter, running in and out from the bomb shelter. But we are willing to pay that price in order to continue to achieve the goals of this operation and to eliminate the capabilities of this regime. And that's exactly what we are doing. We are dismantling the capability of this terror machine.
The president has been talking about the possibility of going after power plants and bridges in Iran if they don't reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Joel Rayburn is a retired U.S. Army colonel who says strikes on power plants could destabilize this regime. I want to get your thoughts when we listen to this.
Yeah, it's going to destabilize the regime along with every Iranian citizen. Like, yeah, like, we're not saying that it's not going to destabilize the regime, but I mean, bro, that's a war crime because it's going to affect mainly citizens. So if you guys are okay with committing war crime, just say that, but don't sit there and play dumb about it.
If that country were to go dark, I think the regime would begin to lose control of some of the cities and districts, especially on their periphery.
Wow. So pretty much now we're going to pretty much make the Iranians go without no power whatsoever. People are going to start dying on ventilators, and we're going to think that that's going to get them to go against the regime when we're the ones that did this to. Okay, bro. All right. I see the logic here, and it's not based in reality.
And they might have an internal security problem that they can't handle given the level of external pressure that they're under.
How would you assess that? I mean, I think the United States and your country have been trying to leave as much civilian infrastructure untouched as possible because we'd like to see another government take over, and we'd like to have that government, you know, friendly toward the United States and Israel and able to make some money, frankly.
You know, we tried from the beginning to focus on military targets, but according to international law, if the other side is attacking civilian targets, you are allowed to retaliate. And we are seeing in the last few days that they continue to target civilian targets in Israel, in the Gulf, you know, airports, hotels. So we have legitimacy to target those civilian targets. And I would advise the Iranians.
No, I mean, that's fair. No, that's actually fair. It's like, I'm gonna be real with you. Israel does nothing but attack civilian targets and civilian infrastructure. That's all they like to do. But in this case, no, they actually have a pretty good case for it. Why? Because Iran's also attacking their civilians and their civilian infrastructure now. Now they are. So when it comes to Israel, yeah, they're going tit for tat for Israel. Now, if America joins in, they're threatening to start taking out energy infrastructure in Saudi Arabia, UAE over here, Oman over here. It's not going to look good if they start doing that.
To believe President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, because they have showed in the last month that they are capable of striking any target in Iran. And now we have to wait whether they will continue to play the game with the Strait of Hormuz. You know, it's what they are doing there. It's beyond imagination. You know, the blackmail, they actually collect money from countries in order to allow them to use the straits. We shouldn't allow this piracy 2026 to continue.
On top of that, you know, there is so much criticism of this war focused against the United States and against Israel. And yet the Iranians are launching cluster bombs against your people. I mean, those are banned. It's an illegal act of war to use cluster bombs, especially against a civilian population.
And they're doing it every night. You know, last night in the city of Haifa and Ramat Gan, every night they will use it in different locations. The cluster munition is dangerous. It's complicated. It's harder to intercept. But, you know, you spoke about condemnation. And with your permission, I will try to be diplomatic. But I see the hypocrisy of some of the European countries that they forget the support they received from the U.S. for generations.
But here's the problem about this. It's like, look, I do feel bad for what's going on in Israel, but I'm highly upset at Israel's government, a.k.a. Bibi Netanyahu, the Likud party. I'm highly upset at them because they're putting their own people in danger. And it's the wild part is like, dog, y'all struck them first. They been told you what they were going to be on if you struck them. So I'm sorry, but you guys can't sit here and play victim when you guys started this war with Iran. Actually, you guys came to us and told us that you guys were going to attack Iran. We just followed up behind you for some strange reason I could not understand. But you can't sit there and play victim when you popped off this conflict. I'm sorry. I just can't hear it from you, bro.
The support that we share the same values and the same enemies, and they're actually collaborating with Iran while we are fighting Iran. They are doing it within the UN, trying to support them, diluting Security Council resolutions. And
shout out to my man Noah Joyner. Appreciate the support, my man. He says, what we get from leaving Iran now, ability to speak civilly again, we need to rebuild our government. And I met, bro, I'll give you that one. Shout out, hey, appreciate the support, my man. Like I said, guys, any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, you can go ahead and send in a super chat. Or if you're watching like from Facebook or something, you can go and send a Venmo or something. That'd be much appreciated. I'll go ahead and read it out loud, whatever you post on there. But now, bro, Noah, to be honest with you, I'll give you that one. Because, bro, the way we're speaking right now about this is not civil at all. We're talking about bombing civilian infrastructures. And instead of us over here condemning the president, going like, look, bro, we get what you want to get off, but pump the brakes here. There's no need to start threatening the entirety of Iran now. Like, this is not who we are as Americans. But for some reason, some people in MAGA are trying to make this sound like we're just this bloodthirsty cult that's out there for Iranian blood. Because I'm sorry, but if you're a true American, let me not do that to you guys. If you have a heart, you would understand that you wouldn't want people to go through a mass blackout. For what? So we can get regime change that might not even happen. Actually, what most likely will happen is a rally around the flag effect that goes completely against us. I mean, let's be real. How much times we try to change this regime and all it does is make people double down on their support of this regime that we're trying to get out the way. And we'd have got that if we'd have just played the slow game and just destroyed their economy instead of going into direct conflict with them. But nobody's trying to hear that. Apparently, bombing Iran is just the only way. Crazy.
Fortunately, also on the ground, they don't allow the U.S. to fly over European countries when you send your support to your troops on the ground. That's shameful.
Is regime change in Iran possible, and is it the goal of the Israeli government after this war finally settles, Ambassador?
Well, definitely, we all pray for a regime change. But, you know, John, it's hard to predict a regime change. You know, when you look at the history of revolutions, no one can actually predict the exact day and time it will take place. We are weakening the regime. We are creating the conditions that will allow the Iranian people to rise up. And I believe it will happen. Sooner than later, there will be a new regime in Iran. No one can guarantee when it will happen, but I believe it will happen.
Ambassador.
Yeah, you just got to put their people through a blackout, make sure they can't get no drinking water, just make the people suffer, and, we'll get that regime change. I swear to God, bro, these Israelis sound so crazy sometimes. I'm just like, bro, how do you sit there with a straight face and just make that, and just say that, and it's all good? It's like, okay, I mean, I get it. Y'all have your own interests, but I don't know if I want to be attached to that. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and take some digs here because, we got to take a little bit of digs at the Democrats because the Democrats are having a bit too much of a good time. And I'm just looking at y'all like, y'all haven't really came up with any plan. And the plan can't be just F Trump. And I've been told you that y'all own party's not even falling for that. So let's get into it. Let's go ahead and get into how the Democrats, over cockiness, is not really going to get them anything.
Congressional Dems have the right priorities. Look at this. Overall, 74%, nearly 3 in 4 say no. Just 25% overall say yes. You might say, okay, well, at least Dems like Democrats. Not the case. Look at this. The majority of Democrats are independents who lean Democrats. Look at this. 55% say no, congressional Democrats do not have the right priorities.
And we know Donald Trump's approval rating has gone into a death spiral.
Hey, yo, shout out to Outlaw Asher. Yeah, maybe we get a regime change in Israel. Guarantee we get a regime change in Israel, bro. This whole war stops today. Whole war stops today because, bro, Israel don't benefit from this. Bro, they're getting attacked from Yemen. They're getting an attack from Lebanon and Iran. Trust me, the people of Israel, they get no benefit. So, yeah, like Bibi, the Likud party, bro, they need to get chased out of Israel.
Oh, but that's done no favors for the Democrats. Their popularity has remained underwater throughout the Trump administration, despite Trump's constant own goals. As you'll see in this next clip, part of the problem is Democratic leadership.
It was real. This is a trend line going back through the years, midterm elections in which there's a GOP president. Look at this. In 2006, Dems' net approval of congressional Democratic leaders was plus 28. You go back to the last midterm, look at that, plus 19. Very much on the positive side. The bottom has fallen out. The bottom has fallen out. -4 points. That is Democrats' own net approval of their own congressional leaders. Even Democrats don't like their own leaders when it comes to Congress. And overall, of course, the numbers are just absolutely awful. So Democrat on Democrat crime.
Because Dems be playing the most, like, I'm gonna be real with you. They're so two-faced, especially Schumer and what's his name? Hakeem Jeffries. They'll play in your face like they're against this. They'll play in your face like, you know, oh, we're against this war and we don't like that Israel dragged us in there and all this good stuff. But behind closed doors, they're all in support of it. Like, they'll sit there and speak out loud about it. But let's be real, they're not doing ish to stop this war at all whatsoever. So it's so funny when I hear the Dems sit there and be like, see, we told you he was going to get y'all into a war. Yeah, but here's the thing. Y'all was upfront about the war y'all wanted to get us into. Y'all was talking about getting into a war with Russia. And then let's not forget that under Biden, the genocide popped off under Biden. And I mean, y'all want to talk about kids. So how many kids died under Biden in Palestine? Since we want to hop on that conversation. I thought so. Okay.
Absolutely. This to me screams, again, primary challenges across the map.
Now, case in point, in response to Trump's wartime address on Wednesday night, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer criticized Trump for everything except actually going to war with Iran. Posting on X, has there ever been a more rambling, disjointed, and pathetic presidential war speech? Donald Trump's actions in Iran will be considered one of the greatest policy blunders in the history of our country, failing to articulate objectives, alienating allies, and ignoring the kitchen table problems Americans are facing. He is completely unfit to be commander-in-chief, and the whole world knows it. But the fact of the matter is that Americans are furious with both parties, according to a new poll from CNN. Just 28% of Americans hold a favorable view of the Democratic Party, with the Republican Party a few points higher at 32%. On the Democratic side, 72% say that a divide over the nation's approach to Israel is causing problems within.
Hold on, sky's the limit. They on the right now with Professor Jang? Really? On PBD?
In the party. About 2/3 of the Democratic Party is facing problematic divides over its priorities and its ideological position, with a smaller 58% majority seeing the party divided on whether Democratic elected officials should ever cooperate with Trump. Brett, I mean, we're seeing, blind, just party ballot polling showing Democrats have maybe a 6-point edge in the midterms, roughly a 3 to 4% margin of error. It feels like that should be a lot higher, and I think that reflects poorly on leadership.
Because you're not saying anything. Like I said, the Trump agenda can only take y'all so far. It only works with the radical leftists. Like, the sensible Dems aren't hearing that shit. All they're hearing is complaining, and they're not hearing any game plan. And that's what's irritating people about the Democratic Party. Y'all spend way too much time bitching and not really coming up with a plan to help this country that you're complaining so much about right now. Like, I'm sorry, but that's why we see you guys is weak, because instead of actually putting in some real leadership, you're over there crying about Trump all day. And I know I'm saying this as a conservative. Shoot, ask your Democratic brethren. They feel the same way. I got guys who vote Dems that are on here all the time, and they feel the same way. Yes, they agree with you guys on the Trump agenda, but they also agree that y'all ain't really doing nothing.
What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where you could talk about it for a very long time. So what does Democrat mean? So there's a lot of people who identify as Democrat who think that the other half of the party is wrong, right? Do I think, if I'm a progressive Democrat, am I happy with the establishment Democrats? No. Am I an establishment Democrat who's mad about these like new up and coming feisty people who have no respect? They got no respect. Yeah, they'll say that they don't like the other part of it. And what you need to understand right now is right now I'm pretty sure that independents outnumber either party's identification. And it depends on where you look, but it used to be like if all the Democrats show up, they win elections. But now it's not the case, not because there's more Republicans, but because there's fewer Democrats. Is because people are looking for some kind of answer. There's been a lot of ways.
But all right, though, let's go ahead and get past this one. And let's get back to, I believe it was, me and Chad was reacting to this. It was Alex Jones completely going off on the Trump administration. Bro, damn near, I ain't gonna lie. when people were saying that, oh, he's starting to sound like a lefty, he's saying that Donald Trump got this, that, and the third, he got swollen ankles, heart condition, dementia, and it's just like, yeah, he is starting to sound like the lefties. But I mean, hey, man, if it's coming from our own side too, then we got to go ahead and actually look into this. We ain't going to sit here and pull a Biden now. Like, look, we ain't going to sit here and watch Trump crumble in front of our face. We're just going to sit there and act blind like the Dems did for Biden. We ain't doing that. But I mean, I'm seeing it a little bit, but nothing too crazy. Like, the man's still able to have a complete speech. So it's nothing like Biden at all. But I mean, if I'm to be honest, the way he speaks from when he was on the campaign and the energy he had in his voice is like completely gone now.
When your ankles swell up 3 times the size they were before, that means heart failure. And he does look sick. And he does babble and, sound like the brain's not doing too hot.
I'm done. Come on now. Trump always been bad.
And so we just cut bait on Trump and we just mobilize against the Democrats. Yeah. This is not funny. This is not good. But he's gone. And that's it.
Okay, Alex.
Okay. I mean, I agree with what Alex Jones said there. It's just that the messenger might not be the best person to provide the message. The whole thing about he looks sick, he keeps babbling, he doesn't seem like he's well. Okay. But anyway, it's very clear that Trump is losing support. And I think he's losing support for good reason. Now it turns out that some of the MAGA loyalists are finally jumping ship. And we'll get to more of that later. But first, I can't help myself. Here's a little bit more from Alex Jones.
Trump is in free fall. And that means we're in free fall in the midterms. Unless Republican candidates say, we are real America firsters. We like Trump in the past. We're sorry he's obviously had an aneurysm or something or stroke. But we're not Trump. We're going to stop the Democrats and their plan for defunding the police and open borders and transgenderism and pedophilia and men and women's sports and giant tax increases and gun confiscations. We just say, we're the original populist Tea Party Republicans that got Trump in. Just because he's been betraying us, we're not. That is the clear way out of this. We have to say, too bad Trump ran off the edge of a cliff. I don't think he's coming back from it. But triage him, isolate him, and explain, we're not him and we're not the Democrats 10 times worse. We're not the Democrats 10 times worse, and we're not him, and we're morally against this, and blowing up Iranian water supplies he's talking about, war crime any way you cut it. Put pressure on him not to do that.
Please.
And just continue.
Please, brother, don't let it be there's just a few of us here in MAGA to just like, or I guess the remnants of MAGA. Please don't let it be just me, Alex Jones, and Tucker Carlson. I heard telling y'all that, yo, this is war crimes, and we should probably hold our president a little bit more accountable, not letting him think he could do whatever we want, and we're just gonna go like, yeah, Trump, fuck yeah, America. It's like, I mean, me, I love to do that, but not for this reason right here.
You on the moral, proper way to behave, not stick our finger in the wind and see which way it's blowing.
All right, lessons from Alex Jones on the moral, proper way to behave. Got it. Okay. Well, he's not the only one who has turned on Trump. To give you an idea of just how historically unpopular Trump has become, I mean, what better source than the very enthusiastic Harry Enton? Take a look.
This has been a steady fall into the abyss. There is no bottom. Death Valley, Death Sea. That is how low we are going. And look at this. I think this really just kind of shows that it is not one event that is dragging Donald Trump down. It's a slew of events that have come together and have continuously dropped his net approval rating. You go back to last year when he was sworn in for a second term. He was at +6 points. Then -3 points a year ago. -7 points 9 months ago, -10 points in October 2025, January 2026, -13 points. And now all the way down to -18 points. If there's one big number from this, is that Donald Trump now has the worst net approval rating among independents of any president ever at this point in term 2. He is worse than Richard Nixon, who would be going adios amigos in a few months back in 1974.
Those numbers make a lot of sense because if you looked at that, for those listening to the audio version of the show, Harry Enton showed some of the other unpopular former presidents, right? You've got Nixon, and then you have George W. Bush at negative 37 approval rating, right? When you consider where he was at when he was first elected versus where he ended up. With Trump, it's negative 45. And that makes sense because even though George W. Bush was absolutely horrible, his administration was full to the brim with war criminals.
And that's what I'm saying, bro. The man's bushing it right now. He's completely bushing it, going into war. What happened after war? The economy got effed up. It's like he's bushing it. And after that, bro, we ain't never trust conservatives the same or look at the Republican Party the same again. And it seems like the cycle's about to happen again with Trump. It's like y'all understand what happened after Bush, bro. Dems was running it for years because of how bad Bush effed up. And if Trump does it the same way and Bushes it, oh yeah, guys. Like, bro, yeah, the Dems are gonna run it. Or at least maybe we're gonna start probably, I don't know, this might be a whole change in the political movement. We actually might start voting in, third-party candidates, independents, instead of just going to either the Republicans or the Dems, because now we're sick of both these bastards.
They were still smart enough to not get dragged into a war with Iran. Okay, like with Trump, there's the corruption angle, right? There's the capture by Israeli interests. And then there's the incompetence on top of that. And the fact that he was high on his own supply after kidnapping the leader of Venezuela. So he was very easy to manipulate and convince that this is just going to be a short military operation in Iran. You have nothing to worry about. Iran is so weak. They're historically weak. We have weakened them so much that this is your only opportunity to take them out.
I hope they didn't believe that.
He did this without securing a plan when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. So yeah, he deserves those numbers. He probably does.
I mean, yeah, sadly, he kind of does. Yeah, he does. Like I said, though, he can always, walk out of this, start working on the economy and affordability again, and possibly save himself in time for midterms. It's not too late. But a month or two in, it's going to be too late. It's going to be over. Like really 2 months, 3 months in, it's going to be over for Trump. And there's really nothing good we're going to be able to do for the Republican Party. And all we can sit there is and blame them for being taken over by the Zionists. I'm not going to feel bad for them. I'm like, look, y'all wanted to go pro-war for Zionists, pro-war for Israel. And that's going to cost y'all the Senate and the House. And yeah, nobody blame but yourselves. Like, don't get mad at us. Get mad at y'all. Don't try to call me anti-Semitic. Bro, get mad at yourselves for not keeping up with y'all promises and y'all commitments. Like, sorry, we're not gonna sit here and watch gas go up and then you tell us, oh, but Biden. I know you guys promised lower gas prices. We have that expectation. How y'all go sit there and watch gas prices go up and be like, oh, well, it's not as bad as Biden. Yeah, tell that to the middle class and lower who's dealing with that for real and who really it hurts. Please repeat that to them. Hopefully they don't slap you in the mouth. Hopefully. But all right, let's get into our guy, Myron. He was cooking.
We are losing influence. We just got our closest allies in the Gulf completely cooked and destroyed. We're threatening to destroy them right now because anyone that's smart saw the red flag. As soon as he said, oh, we're going to destroy the plants. I was like, no, because if you destroy those plants in Iran, they're bombing the Gulf. Trump doesn't have a plan because he thought this would be done in 3 days. These niggas are ready to go for 3 years. It's not the same. So here's what's going on. Trump is writing checks he can't cash. But unfortunately, our allies in the Gulf are cashing it reluctantly. Do you think that they're going to want to work with the United States when we let them dry and get destroyed? Hell no. So you can kiss the petrodollar influence goodbye.
Oh, okay. Mario has Larry Johnson. Let's see what's happening here.
He left is because of our opposition to this war. So I think this is just more petty politics.
But it's also the
you guys know I had Larry Johnson on the show last week.
Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff.
Yeah,
he advises the president directly as well. And there's been a lot of talk about advisors not giving the facts straight to the president. Is it possible that the people that were fired, or at least the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, he was fired because his advice initially was maybe to play the role in dragging Trump into this war? Because one can argue is that Trump didn't want this war. Trump made a mistake starting this war, expected it to end within days, and here he is stuck. So couldn't these firings be a result of that? Trump upset at the outcome of the war and letting go of the people that played a role in convincing him to start the war.
No, none of them were in a position that would either brief that kind of information, collect that kind of information, or be in communication with the president on that. And the Army Chief of Staff, they're they have a broader vision of they have a broader responsibility of managing the army in terms of, how are we going to recruit, what kind of training are soldiers who join the U.S. Army going to get, what kind of budgets do we need, what's our equipment load, et cetera. So they're really more sort of admin types that were not related to any of the decisions about going to war.
So going back to the statement that Trump just made, a lot of people are waiting for that deadline to finish. Do you think Trump will deliver on his threats? You said he likely will, and Iran will retaliate in kind. Is that where you stand? So how's this war going to continue if that happens? So on one side,
I just got a hit. Apparently there was a direct hit on Haifa, chat.
Trump wants an off-ramp. Iran is not giving him an off-ramp. But I worry that they're doing that. One could argue they have the right to do that. They want to deter a future war, but at what cost? Isn't there a possibility? I don't know why not enough people believe that. Again, I'm always the optimist that's wrong. But why are people seeing, from a logical perspective, Iran, for the sake of their country, should accept a deal because Trump will probably go ahead with the threats and deliver on these threats. He can't bluff again. He's bluffed so many, unless they give him something. If they need to give him an off-ramp, the alternative just seems very, very dystopian.
Well, Iran's willing to take the blows. I mean, they see this as fighting for the very existence of their country.
Yep.
There's nothing, if they give up here.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like for them, this is a war for their existence. For us, this is a war for like optional.
I think many are convinced.
It's like literally like this is optional for them. This is existential. Like they have to survive this war. So they're willing to crash out in any way, shape, or form to stay in power. And that's just something I'm not sure if we're ready to deal with all the way through.
That Trump will just be back until he, quote, changes the regime, until that regime is fully under the control of the United States.
Never happening.
Let's not forget that what happened in 1980 and until 1988, the Iraq War.
Easy, thank you so much.
That was backed, funded, supplied by the United States.
That's a fact. We supported Saddam Hussein in that war. Also, we've been with Iran since 1953, bro. No wonder they pissed off, man. Like, don't let these idiots try to tell you, oh, yo, these guys are irrational. Bro, Operation Ajax, 1953. We took out their democratically elected leader when they tried to nationalize the oil.
Yep.
And move forward. The Shah ran for 20 years.
I know we talk about democracy, and then when they democratically elect some guy, Mochavex, forgot his name. I forgot the pronunciation of his name. But when they elected somebody that was actually gonna give them a good deal on their oil, we pretty much overthrew that guy. And we talk about, oh, well, we want to bring a democracy to Iran. Yeah, they had one. And then we overthrew it, and then we put the Shah in there, which is basically a monarch, a king. But, we like to sit here and preach about democracy.
They ran that nigga out of there. Okay? Because the Shah was selling everything out. He was selling the country out. He let America run him. Got that nigga out of there. And then when the Iranian Revolution came, they took over the embassy. Because they're like, what? This is bullshit. And then obviously we backed Saddam Hussein in the 80s to attack them.
That was, in effect, Iraq. And, U.S. history doesn't really focus on this much. But the reality was Iraq was a U.S. proxy being used to attack Iran during the 1980s. All the while that we were involved with funding the Mujahideen.
Okay, so we got in here. Psych 666 says, Mara Gaines, who cares? We just world supply and made them depend on us after we maximizing drilling and took over Venezuela in 50-year terms. We gonna be eating good later. Who wants to tell him? That implies that we're going to be the unipolar power in a multipolar world. You idiots. Do you not understand that we are not the only country with nukes? Do you not understand that we are not the only superpower anymore? Do you not understand that fighting wars in the Middle East and getting kicked out of the Gulf, which we're probably going to end up doing, by the way, is going to lead to a lot of problems? It doesn't matter if we secured oil in Venezuela. We live in a globalized world, sir. And it's going to take time for us to drill and to get that oil on par out of Venezuela. He says that's exactly why we need to do them iron. I don't know. We have different RTS strats. Dude, I'm sorry to break it to you. Like, I'm really, really sorry to break it to you, dude. But we don't live in a unipolar world anymore. It's not the 1950s where we were like the only country with a nuke, bro. Okay? Like, dude, we live in a globalized, multipolar world. It's not the 1950s anymore. We aren't the only show in town anymore, dude. Do you not get that? We are not the only show in town anymore. And this war is pushing people out of our realm of influence. This war was supposed to be a 3-day war. It led into a 3-week war, okay? We have lost influence in the Gulf. I predict that we are not going to be able to maintain our bases in the Gulf anymore after this, unless we destroy the Iranians, which I don't think is going to happen. That would require boots on the ground. We're not putting boots on the ground, at least to an extent where we'll actually be able to occupy and take over the country. Not happening. So the Iranians are going to stay in power. The supreme leader is going to stay in power. We are not going to be able to do that regime change. If we do not do the regime change, that means that the Gulf states, there's no way they're going to let us maintain military presence in their region. You want to know why? Because they got attacked because of us. Once we lose the ability to project power in the Middle East and the Gulf, guess
like I said, it's really hard to sit there and frame Iran as this crazy threat when, one, they kind of warned everybody that we'll do this if you attack us. We did it anyway, and they carried it out. But why are these Gulf states getting attacked? It's not because Iran just some irrational actor. They're getting attacked because we attacked Iran. And Iran is attacking, well, our assets in their countries. And now they're making our partnership with them look more like a liability than an asset. Simply said.
who's going to slide in? In a multipolar world, it's not about military might, it's about influence. I'm going to say that again. In a multipolar world, it's not just all about power, it's about influence. You project power so that you can gain influence. You don't use power like we're doing right now, because when you use power, you cannot dictate what's going to happen. Trump did not foresee them closing the Strait of Hormuz, and he did not foresee them attacking the Gulf states. That was a brutal and costly mistake, because now that they're attacking the Gulf states, we've alienated one of our biggest partners in the world. Also, these countries control what? The petrodollar. Oh, shit. I forgot about that one. For those of you that don't know, the petrodollar is an informal agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, where they will use the US dollar to do most of their transactions. Guess what's going to happen after this bullshit? They're going to need a new power to latch onto. It might be the ruble, it might be the yuan, but guess what? It ain't going to be the US dollar. So dollar hegemony hit. Does that mean we're going to lose reserve currency status? No, but it is going to hurt our ability to project power when our dollar isn't as powerful. This isn't just about getting the oil, idiot. It's about getting oil while still having enough influence to continue getting oil, okay? So when the Gulf states kick us out inevitably, because we're not going to be able to top the mullahs, as they would say, or if they don't kick us out, we're going to have a diminished presence in the Gulf. That invites the Iranians, the Chinese, and the Russians to build more influence in that realm of the world.
Oh, God, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys. Or just smashing that like button.
The more influence you have, the more powerful your dollar. The more powerful your dollar, the more powerful the country becomes. We have reserve currency status right now. But if we keep acting like we're going to lose it. Let me go ahead and take you niggas through some history. Yo, you guys better like the goddamn video, support the goddamn channel. I'm giving you guys so much fire at the stream. I haven't slept, so like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't already. It's Pax. That was the beginning of the United States. Great Britain. When did Great Britain lose its power? Post-World War II. After what? The Suez Canal crisis. That's the run like Galdi dogs. That was the beginning of the end for the British Empire, my friend. The Suez Canal crisis was basically a conspiracy between them and the police trying to take the Suez Canal from the Egyptians. They lost. That was the beginning of the decline of England. Fast forward.
So the decline of every great civilization throughout history is their overexpansion nature. They always try to have this military expansive nature like Rome did, and it ends up stretching themselves thin to where the people may either get tired of it or they stretch their resources too far out and they just crush themselves economically under the weight of their military costs. And this has happened throughout history. So it's kind of funny how we're just kind of just walking into the same mistake that we've seen, well, other great civilizations crumble to.
What do you think might happen here? Same exact situation. Now we're not doing a Suez Canal crisis. We got a Strait of Hormuz crisis. See where I'm going here, idiot? You're done sitting here saying, oh, bro.
Yo, fool.
We gonna be good later. Nigga, we might not make it till later. Stupid. You dumb. Did you forget the fact that Donald Trump, a big reason why he invaded Venezuela was because we had one of the lowest levels of emergency strategic oil reserves? Dummy, did you know that since the 1980s? Huh? You probably did it. So again, we got lucky with Venezuela. Maduro's and those Mexican niggas don't know how to fire guns.
Bro. All right, though. Let's go ahead and get into this Professor Jang and Sneeko. I know one of my guys in the chat requested it, so I'm gonna go ahead and fulfill that request. Appreciate you, my man, because you pull up all the time you watch. So, you know what? I gotta show favors.
March was really hard. There were also some attacks against me. There was clearly a smear campaign that was coordinated because certain influencers were using the same talking points.
On the last appearance you had on my stream, you mentioned how you thought the Patrick Bet-David show was going to be a setup. You got it spot on.
I will be on his show tomorrow. I've agreed to go on his show. And you look at a guy like Peter Hegseth. Whenever he does a press conference, I swear to God, it's almost like he talks war as though he's having an orgasm. I mean, do you get that impression where like he just loves this, right? Yeah. When he says like negotiating with bombs, it's like he's climaxing. I'm being amplified throughout social media. I don't think it's organic. I'm being amplified and given more prominence than I should be. The question is, why is this happening? One suspicion I have.
Oh, bro, that's great. Like I said, hey, yo, if you're watching on Kick or Twitch, if you could do some clips for me to, you know, clip up parts of the stream to what you think would be good parts, you know, help me grow on those platforms, that'd be great. Because, you know, I guess you grow through those platforms through the clips.
Is that this social division is also part of the playbook. If this war is meant to move towards the end of the world and the Great Reset, then you need civil war throughout the Western world. Why aren't we protesting this war in Iran? Why aren't we protesting what Israel is doing in Lebanon? Why aren't we protesting the fact that Israel seems to be targeting everyone? Why hasn't anyone protested the fact that America, at the first day of the war, killed the leader of Iran, which is against international law, and also killed 168 innocent schoolgirls? Why aren't there any protests against that? So all this is really weird. And now you have AI. And the AI revolution, it's not about replacing blue-collar workers. You can't do that. It's about replacing white-collar workers, the lawyers, the accountants, the doctors, the professors, the high school teachers. The elite wants this war in Iran, and Trump is doing that. As long as Trump keeps this war going, then the elite will allow him to get away with anything. But once he's out of office, then he'll be destroyed. If you were to take this theology literally, what it's telling you is that there's only 600,000 humans in this world, and everyone else is just an animal soul. Everyone else is an animal that's taking up space. So, like, you should try to clear up as many of them as possible. There are these religious.
Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen or smashing the like button, depending on how you're watching.
Extremists in Israel who do not see anyone outside of Israel who is not Jewish as a human being. That's why that phrase, like mowing the lawn, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like imagine killing people as like mowing the lawn because, you know, there are weeds and we have to mow the lawn.
Hello, everyone. This is my third interview with Professor Jang amidst a war that he attacked on his character and his name because of minor things like jokes about the Messiah. Also, his internet moniker, Professor Jang.
Jokes? I don't know about that. No, his theories about the creation of Christianity and the teachings of Jesus is a bit controversial. But I suggest you give it a listen to. It's pretty interesting. like him pretty much saying that Peter created modern day Christianity to create this, like, I guess this cult around Jesus's teachings and making him the son of God instead of just the Messiah. So, it's a pretty interesting theory he got going there.
Good to hear from you again. How long it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, it seems like a while because the world is ending, but yeah.
Yeah, things. I don't even know if I can call you a professor anymore. I'm still going to call you professor.
Well, thank you. Yeah. No, I don't know why in the middle of a war, when there's so many real issues, the issue that seems to upset a lot of people is whether or not I'm a credentialed professor. And I've already said I'm not a credentialed professor. I teach at high school. I don't have a BA. It is something the internet calls me. In China, people call me professor as well because it's a sign of respect. So, yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, again, that guy, Mehdi Hassan, it seems like he's on the right side about so many issues. I think a lot of people don't actually watch your long form content. So many people that are part of this attack campaign against you, they are seeing clips taken out of context. One where you're making a joke about the Messiah, and it's like, does he want to start a cult? I'm like, he's so clearly joking. I watch your lectures. I really appreciate the work you do. And I didn't get to see the new Trump one, but I recently saw
that one was crazy.
The Pax Judaica Rising.
Bro, that one was crazy. The Trump one, we were pretty much explaining how Trump might just have this grand plan to destabilize the Middle East energy market. So all other countries will start buying out of our energy market, our oil and all that good stuff. Because we got a lot of, we got a lot of like rare earth minerals. We got a lot of oil. We got a lot of like gas and all this good stuff. Like, we got a lot of natural resources here in the United States. And I mean, what he was trying to say is Trump's big plan to pretty much get the world out of the Middle East market on their natural resources and bring all of those sales over here to the United States and turn this in from a Wall Street game into a manufactured infrastructure game. But I mean, that's just wishful thinking right there.
I'm always taking notes. And you say in almost all your lectures that you're a high school teacher. So they really don't have anything on you.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're obsessed with this particular issue. So there have been 3 major attacks against me. The first is whether or not I'm a professor, and clearly I'm not a professor, and I've been very honest and candid about this. The second is that I am an anti-Semite, that I'm a Holocaust denier, and that's something that I've addressed before. And the third is that I'm a spy. And depending on the time of day, I'm either a spy for Mossad or a spy for the CIA or for the Communist Party, or I'm a secret society. I'm Skull and Bones. It's silly how many accusations I get that I'm a spy. But we can talk about any of this if you want.
I mean, there's you said it correctly. There's so much more important things to talk about right now. There's been major developments. I'm sure you saw the tweet from Trump saying, praise be to Allah, and cursing at 5 a.m. and saying, open up the effing Strait of Hormuz, again, which you predicted. I would like to see more people give you credit for that, because if you watch your lectures, you really spelled out the asymmetrical warfare correctly, the strategy that Iran is using about the downfall of American empire being hubris, which is so clearly why Trump is making all these errors, why he thought it was going to be another Venezuela. That's what I think we should talk about.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah.
But I also saw, I mean, personally, I saw a lot of your fans were saying that you were thinking about stepping back. I saw you posted something on Substack. Has it been overwhelming? So you've had a major rise, I think, obviously because you got so much of this right. But personally, how are things for you? I was going to reach out and email you, but I didn't. Maybe I should have.
Right. Yeah. So March was really hard because when the war started February 28th, I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks because I was so anxious and afraid. I have 3 kids. I'm just worried about the world that they will inherit. And I was just following the news for 2 weeks straight, and my mind was like a beehive. And there were also some attacks against me. There was clearly a smear campaign that was coordinated because certain influencers were using the same talking points and using the same. It seemed as though they got the same memo, basically. But I really didn't mind that. I was more concerned about like where this war might go and where this might lead. It was making me very anxious. And then a lot of people reached out. And I was overwhelmed with media requests, and I had to turn a lot down just because I had just so many commitments. I wanted to like maintain teaching my class, and I reached a point where I actually don't want to do this. I don't want to be the center of a storm. I don't want to be the center of attention. Like what I specialize in is doing deep analysis and trying to tie current events to historical patterns and try to offer some insight and clarity as to how the future might reveal itself. And that's something I've been doing for the past 2 years. It's something I really enjoy doing. And in the beginning, when I only had 20,000 fans, it was really rewarding. It was very edifying. Everyone was really happy to have found me. It seemed as though it was a really small club, and everyone enjoyed being in it. But then, as you know, this past year, I became more and more prominent. And then in March, I just sort of blew up everywhere. And that put me in the eye of the storm. And I asked myself, the question I asked myself is, am I capable of still doing insightful analysis while being a celebrity of some sorts? And if the answer is no, then I should stop being a celebrity and continue doing research and teaching, because that's my value to the world. That's what I should focus on. And so I was seriously considering just not doing YouTube and taking some time off. And just
hold on, guys. This video just came out. I'm probably going to close out the stream on this one right here, but shout out to PBD. So let's see here. Luigi Mangione wrote me a letter from prison. First off, what in God's name is Luigi Mangione doing writing Patrick Bet-David letters? Like, that don't even make sense. But opposite side of the political spectrum. But hey, I mean, never know. All right, man, let's hear it out.
So recently I get a letter from Luigi Mangione. My assistant comes to me and says, you got a letter from Luigi Mangione. I said, which Luigi Mangione? He says, D. Luigi Mangione. I said, D. Luigi Mangione from the Metropolitan Detention Center? Yes. In Brooklyn? Yes. The same place that a lot of these guys, Nicolas Maduro's at right now, by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, Diddy, some of these guys? Yes. The guy that got accused of killing Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Health? Yes. What's he writing me a letter for? I don't know. Okay. So what do? I open it up. And I read through it. And by the way, to tell you how well it was written would be an understatement. This was written as if a kid went to Harvard or Yale.
Yeah, he did.
Good writer.
Did he? No, I don't think he went to anything prestigious like that, but he was a very good student. Actually, he was on a roll. And if anything, I don't even think honor roll is a good way to put it. I mean, they kind of considered the kid a future genius. And then his dad as well, he come from an affluent family. So he came from money with family. He had a really good educational background, and he was about to have a really good educational future until he just threw it all away by shooting that, that healthcare CEO for United Healthcare.
Sense of humor, sarcasm, witty, even a riddle in there. He even cut a piece out. Like, go figure it out for yourself. Clips, go watch these clips of these philosophers. You can tell he's very intellectual, deep meaning in the way he's writing his stuff, right? And even in there, he talks about, because one day I'm doing a podcast, my phone blows up with a couple hundred messages, Pat. A viral article is going around right now of Luigi Mangione, who turned 27 years old, writing 27 things he's grateful for. And number 7 is you. So number 7, I don't have a connection with him. Yeah, go read it. Number 7, I'm grateful for Patrick Bet-David's book, Your Next 5 Moves. Really? Yes. And he's passing it around in the prison he's at right now. Interesting. How that book made it there, who knows, but it's there. And then in here, he says, Pat, out of all the 27 things I wrote that I was grateful for, the one that I got the most hate mail was number 7, Your Next 5 Moves. A lot of girls who are Gen Z We're not happy about that. He says, you have a Gen Z female problem. He says that in the letter. Anyways, he said a lot of other things. So I sat on it and I said, what do I tell this guy? Do I write back? You know, what level of hope does a person have at 27 years old that is accused of killing a CEO of a company, United Healthcare? And we all know the United Healthcare was known for lowest percentage of paying insurance to their clients, or that, you know.
Yeah, and that's just a scam in healthcare altogether, man. You paying these premiums all these years, and then when you finally need it, they want to play, you know, funny with you. They want to act like, oh, well, are you sure you actually are, you know, fulfill the requirements to get funding for this or to get reimbursed for your losses? Are you sure? You sure it wasn't planned, or you sure it wasn't your fault? Like, you know, they'll try to do anything in their power to not give you your insurance claim money. And that's the shady part about insurance. It's like, yeah, you pay for it, but it doesn't mean that you actually got it, to be honest with you, because if you get in an accident and it's your fault, I mean, be real with you, insurance might not help you. Especially you only got liability. You're really cooked. But hopefully you got full coverage.
Payouts that they're giving. So it's not like they had a good reputation, but to go and allegedly kill that CEO, what do you tell a guy like that in the letter? What do you tell him? So I sat there and I thought about it. I remember being in military and how much letters meant to us. Till today, my teacher from my high school, health and guidance teacher, that I met her when I was 14 years old. I'm 47, 33 years old. You know, till today, we write letters to each other. Every 3 months, I get a letter from her. She's got chickens, she's got this, she's got that. But it took me back to when I was in the military, how valuable our response was. So I wrote a letter back to him, and I sent it yesterday with 6 books to him. So I think those other 6 books, he's got time to read. So I sent him the other 6 books to go through as well. The guy's got a sense of humor, even though he knows what he's done. And I have so many questions that I wrote on the letter to him. Well, made me think about something else. How does this apply to you and I? Okay. You and I directly and indirectly. I was a kid back in the days that, you know, I listened to a lot of Tupac. I listened to a lot of Hit 'Em Up. I probably listened to Hit 'Em Up, I don't know, 500 times. That was my workout song. I listened to Eazy-E, Real Mother, you know what, G's. I listened to RBL Posse. I listened to Rappin' Forte and, you know, Bone Thugs and Harmony and DMX and all these guys. I hung out with guys that were, you know, troubled kids. And, you know, I was part of a basketball league that was with Blood and Crip and Black Diamonds and 18th Street and Toonerville and all these guys, TVR. I was in that community trying to figure myself out at 14 years old. Parents got a divorce. Life was a little bit interesting. And I went into the military. And so I thought about myself. Luckily, when I was in those moments of being impressionable and vulnerable, the right people were in my ear. And so it got me to go back and think about a guy I interviewed who was an FBI criminal profiler. This guy would talk to you right after a person killed their wife. He was the first person that interviewed the husband that's accused of killing his wife. Vice versa. Wife accused of killing the husband. He's interviewing the wife to see what happened. What got you to the point of killing your wife? What was it? Was it cheating? Did he hit you? Did he remind you? Did she do this? What gets you to a point of killing? And we all read or see these movies or the stories we go through, right? What got you there? And I said, Jim, what makes somebody do this? This is Pat, 22 years of doing this. You know, it comes down to 3 things. I said, what is it? He said, genetics loads the gun. Genetics, mom and dad, loads the gun.
I'm weak. AKA, if your mom or dad ever caught a body before, well, you're more likely to catch a body, basically.
He says your personality.
I know that doesn't really help you guys. I know the military kids, you know, that doesn't really make you feel too good right now. But I mean, hey, you don't got to be like your parent.
Aims the gun. But he said life experiences pulls the trigger. So life experiences.
Play careful.
This guy had back issues. He had certain health problems. His grandpa was a very successful businessman, made a lot of money. He had the trajectory of, he was a this is not a regular kid. He was a valedictorian, could have been a net positive to society, working, building a business, creating jobs, maybe getting involved in politics, doing something positive for the world. He had that brain to do it. He had the genetics to do it. But those life experiences, the 90 days that he went on his own and mother couldn't find him. And eventually around November of 2024, I believe, mom reported that I think my son is missing. And then December 4th is the day he's accused of killing Brian Thompson. We've all seen the videos and the day they caught him. So what happened during those 90 days? You know, one of the movies I hate the most, when I tell you I don't hate a lot of movies, I hate this movie. You know what's the movie I hate the most? Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Absolutely hate the movie Joker. You know why? At 43 minutes, I don't know what the timeline was. I'm sitting with my wife. We went with about 20 of us. And the story is the guy ends up killing the capitalist, the wealthy guy. And he's a hero. Look at this guy. Wow. You know, take out these rich. And I said, what kind of a freaking movie is this? How many kids is going to watch this and they're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to be a hero. Let me go take out somebody in power. That could have been him. Luigi Mangione could have watched Joker while he's away with somebody else and somebody's in his ear. You know what? Look what they're doing and what happened with you with insurance and this is not fair and and all of a sudden you're like, I am right and the system is wrong. And when you get to that point, that's a very dangerous place to be because you're almost giving yourself permission to justify doing something crazy like this. Pat, I still don't get it. How does this apply to me? Do you have kids? Do you have a son? Do you have a daughter? Do you have a nephew? Do you have a cousin? Are you 17 years old watching this? You're impressionable. When you're at the lowest in life, and we will be, many times we will be. I got 4 kids. Many times we will be. When you're at the lowest, dude, you better guard who you listen to and what you watch and what you read. I don't care if you're 14. I don't care if you're 44. I don't care if you're 64. True. This is our entire life. This thing's not easy. This thing's tough. But we are also the luckiest people alive to witness.
I mean, bro, it is hard to watch certain documentaries. I would say, shoot, even read into certain topics without being radicalized into, like, I don't know, somebody who hates Muslims, somebody who hates Jews, somebody who hates black people, because you just think there's just this huge conspiracy against you and all this good stuff based off the people that you're listening to, books that you're reading. I mean, God forbid, the Reddit chat that you be getting into, or the Reddit comment section that you be getting into. I mean, yeah, you got to low-key watch yourself. And I'd always say, you know, always look at both sides of the arguments. That's how you don't get radicalized in one direction. You always got to look at both sides. Because if you're only listening to one side thinking that that's the side of good and they have all the answers and they don't do no wrong, trust me, bro. Trust me. You're most likely wrong about that perception right there.
That's what we have today.
Oh, shoot. Let me see here. Before you head out, you mind covering anything new with the Artemis mission? Or yeah, Artemis 2 mission. Actually, yeah, I got you.
And as tough as life is, it isn't as tough as it was 200 years ago.
I was a little disappointed in that mission because they said they weren't landing on the moon. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing this for? We ain't going to land on the moon. Like, come on now. And now you see all the, what was it? It was all the moon, what was it? The moon landing guys, the moon landing deniers, all these guys are coming out the woodwork going like, oh, this is all fake. This is all staged. This didn't really happen. And I'm just like, oh, bro, just shut these guys up and put another guy on the moon and have him take his camera out. Let's just shut these guys the F up already. But no, we just want to fly around it. Like, that's going to shut these guys the F up. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. But I got you, bro. I got you. Shout out to my man Noah.
Or 800 years ago, or 1,200 years ago. It's a lot easier today than it was back in the days. Lifestyle is a lot better today. AC wasn't around 140, 150 years ago. You're probably in an AC place right now watching this video. Probably have access to food. You probably get access to the greatest computer in the world. You probably are watching this on it. We are so lucky. Think about the perspective. But and when I was writing the letter, I'm like, you know, this could have been a friend of mine. I lost a friend when I was younger. Till today, I think about him all the time. This is someone's friend. This is someone's son. This is someone's cousin. This is someone's grandson.
Facts.
Someone got to him at 25, 26 years old that made him believe this is the right thing to do. What was the third one? Experiences does what? Pulls the trigger. I don't know. So, you know, what I would take from the message if I'm you is, I promise you, this either made you think about you or it made you think about somebody else. Whatever you could do, make a list of 2 or 3 different people right now and just send them an audio message and lift them up. Lift them up. Just send a message and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I believe in you. It's all going to be fine.
Yep.
Share scripture with them. Encouraging message.
All good.
Something that could...
No, like, in these times of turbulence, I like to say, let's make sure to just keep a positive mindset, guys. And that's what I try to do. And this is why I guess I was yelling at Sid, because I was like, bro, you're being a doomer. And I'm just a positive. I'm a guy who likes to keep a positive mindset. I don't like to sit there and think that the world is going to fucking end. No, I like to see how things I like to look at the brighter side of things and how things can work in our favor, or things that just, not be the way they are right now. So trust me, always keep a positive mindset and always believe that things could get better, because I promise you, if you keep that negative mindset, that's going to be your life. I mean, you are what you think at the end of the day.
Lift them up. You would be amazed how many times we just need a message like, wait, where did this come? Don't even tell them what inspired you want to send this to them. Just tell them. Tell her. You would be amazed how much of an impact you can have on 3 people today. That's it. So imagine if 1 million of us do this. We positively impacted 3 million people today. What does that do? A lot. Sometimes that's all we need.
Yeah.
But
all righty now that he's done yapping away at it, he didn't really get too much into the letter, but okay, PBD, I see you want to string this out as usual. It's all good. It's all good. I get it, bro, for the views. I understand. I respect it. All righty, guys, let's go ahead and get into this Artemis video right here. This is like the latest one. So let's see here.
In the overnight hours of April 3rd to 4th, a big milestone for the Artemis II mission.
And Integrity Houston, we have some news to share with you. As of 30 seconds ago, you are now closer to the moon than you are to us on Earth.
All right, more than halfway there.
Pumping up the crew who trained for this mission for years.
Wow, Jackie, thank you for sharing that with us. We all kind of had a collective, I guess, expression of joy at that. It's hard to imagine, but we can see here on our flight PFD that we are at 118,000 nautical miles. So, yeah, you can do the math. We can see the moon out of the docking hatch right now. It is a beautiful sight. We're seeing more and more of the far side, and it's just a thrill to be here.
Flight days 3 and 4 were busy as the crew continued to check out their Orion spacecraft. The guidance, navigation, and control systems worked so well up to now that mission managers were able to cancel 2 planned outbound correction maneuvers.
I've talked off and on relative to things that are important to me throughout the mission, primarily with entry interface.
Yo, shout out to my man Jet. Remember, for 8 months, he says, got a test flight and even landing won't change minds. I know, right? They won't. But there's people who just want to believe that the Earth is flat, the firmament and all this good stuff, and there's no space or anything like that. I mean, some people just want to believe that. And honestly, I think that's just such a boring view of God's creation. Like, come on, guys. Just a flat plane and that's it. Like, God's way more creative than that. But that's just me.
Space, right? Because that's the big one that gets us home and gets the crew boots back on Earth.
Out to my man Noah and Jeff.
It doesn't go without mentioning that the first step in that is getting the rocket ready, and then the next step is having a SLS deliver the spacecraft to the point in space where it needs to be. And so it did that with 99.92% accuracy. That was a big bullseye, and I'm very happy about that.
The first few days of the Artemis II mission have also been highlighted by the opportunity for mission specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen to get a chance to perform some manual piloting.
Okay, and now the rate is complete, and as expected, took quite a bit of time to build up the rate, but was able to null the rate quickly. And
all right, so as far as we're concerned, they're like, what, more than halfway there, or at least further away from Earth than they were from the moon. So let's see. Hopefully everything goes all right, guys. No type of mishap happens, because anything could happen in these space travels. So like I said, let's keep these guys in our prayers, and I'm going to go ahead and head out on this one. I'll be back for Trump's speech around 1, maybe on around latest 1:30. So but we are going to cover Trump's speech, because once again he's making another one to the nation concerning the Iran war, and hopefully he got some good news. I mean, after making that crazy ass threat, maybe the Iran's finally bent the knee. He got good news for us, so let's see what happens. All right, guys. This is Set with Set Media. I'm gonna catch you on the next one. Shout out to my partners over there at Kalshi. Make sure you guys go ahead and try them out. Use the promo code Set Media once you sign up with Kalshi, and once you deposit 20, you can go ahead and get 20 back and go ahead and get into that trading market, guys. Pretty fun. I ain't gonna lie, it's pretty fun. But let's make sure we double tap that screen, like the video on your way out, subscribe to the channel. Peace. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, man. I'm here to talk to you about our partner, Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the United States with over 1 million users. It's available in all 50 states. They are a real money market. People trading on what they think will happen. You can build a position and trade in and out of almost any prediction you think. Kalshi facilitates trade between people, kind of like the stock market. There's no limiting your trades just because you're winning. Kalshi will pay you interest on your position. So if you make a long-term trade, you can earn a return even before the market is resolved. If you want to try out Kalshi, go ahead and give them a try, guys, at my link, kalshi.com/setmedia. Get $20 when you trade 20, so it's 20 for 20, guys. Once again, that's kalshi.com/setmedia. Go ahead and use my code SETMedia to get $20 when you trade 20. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Kalshi, because like I said, it is a trading market where you can put in your prediction and you can go ahead and earn interest on that. You can make money off the knowledge that you know, and if you put $20 in, you get $20 back. So all right, guys, make sure to go check out my guy at Kalshi, because you can get in on good trades like who will Trump nominate as Fed chair? Will Ali Khamenei be outed as the supreme leader? And will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? So if you want to get in on this action, once again, go ahead and go to my partners at Kalshi. Go ahead and use the link, or you can hit the QR code above and use Set Media to go ahead and get $20 when you trade 20. This is Set from Set Media, and shout out to Kalshi.